Chapter 771. Bishop Dongyang's Sure is straightforward. Seeing Tsing Hui by Tuoba Zhangkong without hesitation, he said, "All right, take me to see that Tuoba Zhangkong. Lord Bishop, please follow me." Iron Flag led the way and soon arrived at a courtyard. Inside the courtyard, covered by a formation, an old man in his 60s with an immortal aura was sipping tea, looking calm and indifferent. Tsing Hui didn't stand on ceremony and directly used the aura examination art to size up the old man. Just as Iron Flag said, this old man's cultivation was exquisite and had already reached the pinnacle of the vacuum-shattering realm. The spatial fluctuations on his body were faintly discernible. As long as there were enough resources, there was hope for him to condense a divine true body. In addition, having lived for 8,000 years, his lifespan was still quite long. It wouldn't be a problem for him to live for another 1 or 2,000 years. What surprised Tsing Hui was the old man's luck. His luck was actually blazing red. Although he had suffered a disaster now, his future was definitely not limited to this. Seeing through the other party's luck and lifespan was a change derived from the aura examination art's perfection. After Tsing Hui achieved this, he once again used the somewhat uncertain supreme immortal art, reverse future divination. As he used the immortal technique of future reversal, Qing Su saw flashes of swords and blades intermittently. However, in the end, he managed to escape unscathed. Before he could continue observing through reverse future divination, the scene he saw suddenly changed. The figure of Princess Long Yu appeared in it. Her figure appeared in a flash, but in the end, it was fixed in a vast and resplendent starry sky. Then the scene collapsed. This Princess Long Yu. Her origin is problematic. From the information derived from reverse future divination, she seems to have come from the endless void. Tsing Hui's heart stirred. Then, he looked in the direction of Princess Long Yu again. This time, he had already used the aura examination art. As he used the aura examination art, a dazzling red light suddenly soared into the sky like a pillar of qi straight into the clouds. However, this pillar of energy that shot into the sky only lasted for a short moment before it was immediately suppressed by an invisible force, causing it to disperse with a bang and become muddle-headed. It was even to the extent that Tsing Hui almost thought that it was an illusion. These are the two fated chances of life and death. Tsing Hui suddenly understood something. Princess Long Yu's fate clearly showed two extremes. One was to become a plaything of the masses, while the other was to soar into the heavens with a single bound, limitless. Soar to the heavens in a single bound. Tsing Hui pondered for a moment and quickly came up with a plan. If he wanted to cultivate world creation in a thought within 10 years, it would be a fool's dream if he used conventional methods. In that case, he might as well gamble on this Princess Long Yu. Qing Su had an idea, but he did not show it on his face. Instead, he continued to observe the other high-class slaves with Tai Chi. Although the other high-level slaves had their own miraculous abilities, Tsing Hui was most interested in their luck. None of them could compare to Princess Long Yu. "Bishop Dongyang, how is your observation going?" "Good." Qing Su couldn't be bothered to waste any more time on Taba Zhangkong. He directly said, "I want Taba Zhangkong. Besides that, there's also Princess Long Yu. I just happen to have 2 high-class slaves. Is that all right?" "No problem. No problem. Absolutely no problem. Bishop Dongyang really has a good eye." Iron Flag hurriedly boasted to the side. After taking Tsing Hui's identity jade tablet and completing the transaction, after deducting a total of 9,400 Dao points, he took back the 2 jade tablets that contained divine soul fluctuations. "Bishop Dongyang, these are the soul brands that control the life and death of these 2 people. Don't worry, both Tuoba Changkong and Princess Long Yu have been well trained by us. As long as you don't completely destroy them, they won't easily seek death or cause trouble. Of course, I also believe that Bishop must have many means to make them unable to die, even if they want to." "Okay." Tsing Hui took the jade tablets and quickly refined them. As the jade tablets were refined, the life and death of Tuoba Changkong and Long Yu were in his hands. He could even vaguely control their every move through the jade tablets. With this ability, even if the two wanted to commit suicide, they wouldn't be able to do it. It's really a good method. Bishop, you flatter us. We asked Old Man XINMO to personally take action to induce their inner demons and then take advantage of the situation to control them. It's not an easy task. Iron Flag said with a smile. Sing Hui knew that Old Man XINMO was the supreme elder of the Demon Statue Palace, one of the top 16 forces of the Zhongshuan continent. The Demon Statue Palace was also one of the strongest forces in the Zhongshuan continent. They had 3 experts who could create a world with a thought, but because of their ruthless and cruel way of doing things, they were jointly opposed and resisted by several sections. After Tsing Hui bought Tooba Chongkong and Long Yu, the two were quickly brought to Tsing Hui by a middle-aged man who possessed the shattering vacuum realm. Without needing anyone to speak, Tooba Chongkong and Princess Long Yu respectfully bowed. We pay our respects to Master. The two of them had already been trained. They were respectful towards Qing Su on the surface, but even if they had other thoughts, they would do their best to hide them. They would never let anyone see through them. Those stubborn people who would rather die than submit had truly been sent to see the King of Hell a long time ago. Okay, Bishop Dongyang, the things have been delivered. How about we? At this moment, Dao Gang spoke up in a timely manner. Let's go. Bishop Dongyang, remember to come often. If there are any top goods, we will inform you as soon as possible. Okay. Sing Hui nodded slightly to Iron Flag and followed Dao Gang out of the open space. After Tsing Hui and Dao Gang left, the man who brought Princess Long Yu and Tooba Chongkong over said with a smile, as expected of the supervisor. He actually sold that old man for a high price of 8,000 Dao points. Hee, with Tooba Chongkong's weight, 8,000 Dao points isn't considered expensive. It is indeed not expensive, but we have yet to completely clean up the remnants of the Astral Sword sect. As one of the most respected elders of the Astral Sword sect, someone could come to rescue Tooba Zhongkong at any time. This is where the hidden danger lies. Didn't the previous 2 guests take a fancy to Tooba Zhongkong because of this point? In the end, they temporarily let go of him because of this. Moreover, at that time, the manager had already lowered the price to 6,000 Dao points, right? It's just a business method. Tooba Chongkong does have a lot of merits. 8,000 Dao points can be considered a good deal. As for the hidden danger, he didn't inquire about it clearly. Who can he blame? Mortals sell pork filled with water and rotten fruits. Therefore, there's no need to make a fuss about this. After saying that, Iron Flag waved his hand and walked into the courtyard. Clearly, he was going to calculate how much profit he could make from this round of transactions. The items for Daoist seeking were quite simple. A bishop's robe with decent defensive power, a device specially used to connect to Daoist Seeking's Dao artifact, and a book to promote Daoist Seeking's Dao. After putting away these items and taking the control token for the cave dwelling, Tsing Hui headed out of Blackwood City. The cave abode developed by Daoist Xiu was about 2,000 kilometers away from Blackwood City. This distance was nothing to any Saint Realm cultivator. It was also the reason why they dared to sell a few or a dozen Daoist rhymes at a price. Since Tsing Hui bought one of the highest peaks in this cave dwelling area, when Tsing Hui arrived, a divine real body expert in charge of maintaining the safety of this area was already there with several vacuum shattering guards. When he saw Tsing Hui, he immediately greeted him with a smile. Are you Bishop Dongyang? I'm Qi Yukong, the commander of Cloud Mountain Cave. I'll take Bishop Dongyang to your mountain. Thank you, Commander Qi. Haha, it's our duty to serve Bishop Dongyang and the others well. Please come in, Qi Yukong said as he led Tsing Hui directly to his mountain. On this mountain peak, there were a total of 2 15th level formations. As for 14th level formations, there were more than 10 of them. Just the maintenance of the formations alone was not a small expense. In addition, there were many exotic flowers and herbs planted on the mountain peak, and there were red-crowned cranes flying around. It made the mountain peak look like a blessed land of immortals. It was barely worthy of its high price of 13 Daoist rhymes. Bishop Dongyang, This is my identity jade token. If you need anything in the future, just send me a message. We'll be there as soon as possible. After bringing Qing Su to the mountain, Qi Yakong left behind his method of contact passionately. He did not seem like a great figure of the gods at all. It should be known that divine real body experts only needed to make contributions in the Red Sun Empire to be conferred the title of Viscount. Those with prominent status could even be conferred the title of Count. They had jurisdiction over hundreds of millions of people. Even if they didn't become officials, they could still find a place to establish a sect and become the leader of a small sect. It had to be said that due to the environment of Taoist seeking, the members of Taoist seeking did not have the dignity and awareness of being experts at all. They all acted as if they were rich and powerful. But then again, this was also the reason why Tsing Hui chose to join Taoist seeking in the end. Thank you. Tsing Hui nodded to Qi Yakong and landed on the mountain. The servants on the mountain who were responsible for the normal maintenance had already received the news and were waiting in the square. When they saw Tsing Hui arrive, they all bowed. Tsing Hui glanced around and saw that there were more than 200 maintenance personnel on the mountain. This was just the basic maintenance personnel. If he planned to do something else, there would be more people. All right, Tooba Chongkong, you're the manager of this mountain. Go and make the arrangements. I'll give you a day to take care of the mountain. I have something to ask you tomorrow. Yes, master. Taba Zhangkong respectfully bowed and asked at the same time, Master, may I know what name we should give to the outside world? Name? Let's call it Dongyang Mountain. Yes. Tooba Chongkong replied respectfully. Long Yu stood to the side and said nothing. Even though she was mentally prepared for her fate, she would not take the initiative to serve Tsing Hui if he didn't mention it. Qing Su obviously would not force her to do anything. He only said, You don't have to feel too burdened. I'm only buying you because of the Chonglong Emperor's kindness in the past, so I'm just returning the favor. All right, get the steward to make arrangements for you. Go get some rest. Don't worry, I won't force you. With that, he turned and left. Chapter 772. A day passed by quickly. Tooba Chongkong was the great elder of the Astral Sword sect. He was responsible for coordinating with the sect head to manage all the affairs of the sect. Now, he was naturally familiar with the small Dongyang Peak. Soon, the entire Dongyang Peak was in good order under his management. On this day, Tsing Hui also had a good understanding of his mountain. The defensive power of the mountain was unquestionable. In addition to the 16th order formations outside, there were also two 15th order formations in the mountain. One was used for defense, and the other was used to trap and kill. As for the remaining 14th order formations, they were mostly used for defense and isolation, mainly to ensure the concealment of the mountain. After a brief understanding of the formations on the mountain, Tsing Hui breathed a sigh of relief. Staying on this mountain, as long as he did not encounter a 16th order formation master or a maverick expert, he would have a chance to react to anything. As for 15th order formation masters and divine true body experts, they might have the ability to disintegrate this formation, but they definitely could not do it quietly. During this period of time, Qi Yakong and a Maverick Realm Grand Elder who lived here would definitely rush over as soon as possible, so it could be considered safe. Tsing Hui slightly dealt with the matters at hand. As if sensing something, he reached out and took the deep scarlet sword off his body. Tsing Hui carefully sensed the deep scarlet sword. In this divine sword, he vaguely felt the existence of a life. A sword spirit. It was the sword spirit that was only left with a broken sword intent. After all these years of nurturing the sword intent, this sword intent had finally completed the transformation from a broken consciousness to a sword spirit. Although it was still unable to communicate with Tsing Hui, it already possessed the characteristics of a sword spirit. It was equivalent to a special life form. A remnant sword can actually grow into a sword spirit. It's really tenacious. I really don't know how powerful this sword spirit was when it was at its peak. Tsing Hui held the deep scarlet sword in his hand and carefully examined it. He sighed emotionally inside. Since the deep scarlet sword had been refined into the originator, not only had the broken sword intent grown into a sword spirit, but it had also risen to the 16th order during this period of time. Its carrying capacity for the Sword of Sunlight had increased once again. Even when using the Sword of Eclipse, the burden on it had decreased significantly. It was just a pity that Xing Hui had yet to meet someone who required him to use the Sword of Eclipse with his full strength. He still did not have a clear grasp of the sword technique's true strength. Tuoba Changkong is an expert at the peak of acoustic shattering vacuum. I should give him some time, Xing Hui thought as he stowed the deep scarlet sword away. At the same time, he split a portion of his consciousness to glance at the dragonization fruit tree planted in his personal space. As he poured 100,000 spiritual marrow into his personal space, the Wood Spirit Queen's rate of nurturing with spirits had clearly increased. Before the 100,000 spiritual marrow had even been depleted, she had already nurtured 3 with spirits. There were now 6 with spirits in total. The dragonization fruit tree's rate of growth had increased significantly as well. At this rate, as long as he could increase the number of wood spirits in his personal space to 20, he was confident that he could nurture a dragonization fruit tree within 10 years. Wood spirits, it really isn't something that just anyone can nurture. The amount of Tao that I possess right now is no less than the amount of Tao that those chaotic great lords possess. However, the efficiency of nurturing 4 or 5 wood spirits with 100 Tao rhymes is still heart-wrenching. If I want to nurture 20 wood spirits, I'll need 3 or 400 Tao items at the very least, Tao items with 3 or 400 Tao rhymes. If it weren't for the fact that dragonization fruit was rarely sold in the Chaos Treasure Pavilion, Xing Hui would have been tempted to buy it directly with Tao rhymes. Why would he spend so much effort on the dragonization fruit tree? Shaking his head, Xing Hui withdrew his gaze. He wanted to buy more spiritual marrow, but he had already spent 200 Tao rhymes on Taoism seeking. If he continued to spend more, he would definitely be targeted by the higher-ups of Taoism seeking. When that time came, it would be troublesome. Before his physique transformed again, and before his life essence reached the level of a divine beast, he planned to lay low for a period of time. Master! Early the next morning, Tuoba Changkong had already arrived. He respectfully greeted Xing Hui. I've taken a fancy to you and bought you mainly because you were the Grand Elder of the Astral Sword Sect back then. You're also very experienced. I want to know more about the true Sun Great World and even information about the outside world from you. Master, feel free to ask. Very good. Do you know of the Time Lord and the Master of Gods? I've read some records in the past. Regardless of whether it's the Time Lord or the Master of Gods, they're the greatest beings in the chaotic starry sky. It's said that they're on the same level as the Master of Chaos, the ruler of the divine realm formed by billions of worlds. Tuoba Changkong respectfully said, "Oh." Seeing that Tuoba Changkong had actually heard of the Time Lord and the Master of Gods, Xing Hui's interest was immediately piqued. Tell me about the divine realm you mentioned and the chaotic starry sky. Yes, Master. Our Astral Sword sect had once been glorious and prosperous. Although we had never produced a great giant in the chaotic realm, our ancestors had more than one almighty who could create a world with a thought. These almighties had once served the distant ancestor of the true Sun Great World, Paragon Gao. They had also gone on an expedition to 3 worlds with Paragon Gao. They had also fought against the enemies that invaded our true Sun Great World. According to our communication with these worlds, we learned that the endless void governed by the Great Master of Chaos is called the Chaotic Divine Realm, named after the Master of Chaos. The other 2 vast voids are the Time Universe and the Divine Realm. Chaotic Divine Realm, Time Universe, and Divine Realm. Xing Hui's heart stirred. Then what about the worlds outside these 3 territories? The chaotic starry sky? Yes, many great worlds call the worlds outside the 3 territories that cannot be explored as the chaotic starry sky. However, it is said that the chaotic starry sky is extremely dangerous. Between our worlds, there are at most some void storms, void turbulence, void rays, and so on. The chaotic starry sky is filled with endless destructive energy. Even if a chaotic realm paragon were to step into it, there would be no return, At this point, Taba Zhangkong hurriedly added, "Of course, this is just some of the knowledge I've read from books. I can't determine whether it's true or false. After all, the greatness of a primal chaos realm life form is far from what I can guess." Xinghui nodded. After hearing Tuoba Changkong's explanation, he finally had a little understanding of this vast and boundless world. "Do you know how to get to the border of the time universe from the chaotic divine realm where we live?" "Go to the time universe." Tuoba Changkong was slightly taken aback. He hurriedly said, No, master. The time universe and our chaotic divine realm are enemies. Not to mention going to the time universe. Even if we live in a territory near the time universe, we might be attacked by the time universe's infiltrators. Without the guidance of an almighty who could create a world with a thought, going to the border rashly will almost certainly lead to death. I'm just asking for the method. Don't be impatient. The method. Tuoba Changkong hesitated for a moment, but still said truthfully, "From what I know, some powerful worlds will open up teleportation formations to the border of the time universe. To us, the time universe is extremely dangerous, but to those who could create a world with a thought or even a chaotic realm expert, it is a battlefield for battle results. However, our true sun great world and a few other great worlds belong to the rear, which is equivalent to some backward, decaying worlds with exhausted potential. If one wants to go to those thriving and vibrant worlds, one has to go to the divine path great world first, and then from there to the more prosperous and resplendent worlds. Along the way, one has to pass through many teleportation formations. Some worlds will destroy their teleportation formations to avoid being invaded. By then, if one relies on flying, it will take decades, centuries, or even centuries. Destroy the teleportation formations, yes. Tuoba Changkong said, "This is what everyone has always done. In order to avoid being discovered and invaded, they will often shut down the teleportation formations. It will only be opened once every few hundred years, or even a few thousand years. After it is opened, it will be closed immediately. This way, the small circles can ensure their own interests. If those top experts want to go on an expedition, they will not only be resisted by the entire small circle, but also have to spend a long time on the journey. The gains do not make up for the losses. At best, they will force the small circles to pay some symbolic fees to ensure their rule over these small circles." After hearing this, Xinghui immediately understood how the weak worlds could survive in front of those powerful worlds. It was the distance, just like on Earth. A powerful country with many aircraft carriers would never rob a poor, small country with only a few aircraft carriers. This was because if you sent too few troops, you might be dragged to death in that small country. If you sent too many troops, the country might be poor, and the profits from destroying their country might not even be enough to fill the hole in your military expenditure. Are all the worlds in the primal chaos divine realm like this? They're all like this. The worlds are too far apart. Tuoba Changkong sighed. It is said that our primal chaos divine realm is the largest of the 3 territories. Moreover, because the various mysterious laws and alchemy in our primal chaos divine realm do not make much use of it, it seems to be purely a huge advantage. As such, the degree of civilization inside is very average. Master will know this if you participate in a few more wars against the primal chaos divine realm. At the lower levels, there are mystical abilities and mystic arts. When you reach the level of creating a world with a thought, it is a competition of whose world is bigger. As for the primal chaos realm, it is said that it is a competition of who can smelt more laws and whose world is sturdy. It is clear at a glance whether it is strong or weak. Xinghui deeply agreed with Tuoba Changkong's words. It could be seen from the divine beast cultivation system and the immortal cultivation system. The divine beast cultivation system was simple and direct, relying completely on energy, strength, and mass to win. As for the immortal cultivation system, there were countless immortal techniques, mystical abilities, and magic treasures. Especially magic treasures, They were unparalleled weapons that could turn the tide of a battle. The divine beast bloodline cultivation system was only more ordinary in the early stages. In the later stages, it would display all sorts of miracles. In the later stages, this cultivation system would become even more powerful. Chapter 773. You mentioned that the primal chaos realm requires the fusion of nomological laws. Do you know how the cultivation of the primal chaos realm is divided? We're supremes. What are sovereigns? Our true sun great world has indeed produced sovereigns in its history, but even when our sword astral sect was at its peak, we were unable to come into contact with such existences. We only know that sovereigns are unbelievably powerful. The power of a sovereign can radiate over a dozen worlds and dozens of great worlds. And the power of a sovereign is tens, hundreds, or even hundreds of times that of a primal chaos overlord. It is not something that the primal chaos overlords can contend against. At this point, Taoba Changkong paused slightly. It is said that there are sovereigns in the sacred path great world, but because our true sun great world encountered a disaster 10,000 years ago, and the 8 primal chaos overlords all fell, the upper echelons were worried that the sacred path great world would take advantage of our weakness to invade our true sun great world through the teleportation array. The teleportation array between our two worlds has been closed for thousands of years, and no one knows if it is true or not. 10,000 years ago, the true sun great world encountered a disaster. Since you have lived for 8,000 years, you should know something about this matter, right? Yes, it's related to the invasion of a world. The heaven primordial world was also involved in this war. Later, the ruler of that world led their supremes to attack the heaven primordial world. In addition, there were also people who attacked our true sun world. But for some reason, just as they were about to pour into our true sun world, the space transmitting formation was shut down. In the end, only 8 people entered our true sun world. The supremes of our true sun world risked their lives to kill the 8 invaders. Unfortunately, our true sun world also paid the price of 4 supremes. The remaining 2 supremes were too seriously injured and died in less than 100 years. Xinghui fell silent after hearing Taoba Changkong's words. Different worlds, different people, different standpoints, and different perspectives on the Great War 10,000 years ago would have different perspectives. However, what was certain was that the defeat of the apex supremes of the divine wilderness great world was definitely related to the ancestors of this primal chaos organization. The spatial teleportation array suddenly collapsed, and the 8 primal chaos experts of the divine wilderness great world were trapped in the true sun great world. Then, they were tortured to death by the various primal chaos giants of the true sun great world. It seems that it's not an easy task to travel from the chaotic divine realm to the universe of time. Then, it's impossible to solve the threat from the kingdom of Ikes from the outside. In the end, I have to find a way to go to the divine wilderness first and then return to Earth. Xinghui muttered to himself, "Master, if I may ask, are you planning to head to another great world?" At this moment, Taba Zhangkong suddenly said, Xinghui's gaze landed on Tuoba Changkong. "If I want to go to other worlds, is there any other way?" "There's one, but this method is only useful for the top sons of chaos. Moreover, there's an enormous risk involved." Taba Zhangkong said, "Go ahead. Master, have you ever heard of the sensing technique that was derived from the 45th level of chaos?" "Of course. The sensing technique allows you to sense and communicate with living beings in alternate dimensions. These living beings are all within the range of the master of chaos's power. In other words, it covers the entire primal chaos divine domain. Once you sense a living being in an alternate dimension, you can directly spy on the living being in that alternate dimension and then activate the teleportation technique to teleport over. Since the living beings in alternate dimensions are often different from us humans, their location can be filled with danger. Therefore, there is a certain level of danger." At this point, Taba Zhangkong paused for a moment. I've read in the ancient records that there are living beings in alternate dimensions who specially set up traps and use this method to hunt sons of chaos, so that they themselves have the qualifications to become a son of chaos. Sensing technique, living beings in alternate dimensions. Sing Hui's eyes lit up when he heard Taba Zhangkong's explanation. In addition, at this time, he also understood the reason for the teleportation technique's so-called one-world restriction. The Level 1 teleportation technique could only teleport within the Divine Wilderness Great World. But if he could break through to the Level 2 or Level 3, this restriction would be extended to the 10 worlds and the 100 worlds. This method is not bad, but unfortunately, the sensing technique can only be obtained at the 45th level. Moreover, if the living beings in alternate dimensions are extremely far away from me, the teleportation technique might not be able to reach them. Xinghui said, therefore, this method is only useful for a very small number of people. Taba Zhangkong said awkwardly. After a moment, he glanced at Xinghui and thought of the series of questions that Xinghui had asked. He cautiously probed, Master, are you not from the true Sun Great World? With Taba Zhangkong's soul imprint, Xinghui was not worried that he would betray him. He nodded. That's right. I drifted to this world by chance, and am now thinking of a way to leave and return to my world. Your world is at the intersection of the chaotic divine realm and the universe of time? That's right. Taba Zhangkong heard this and nodded. It was not that there were no cultivators like Xinghui who had drifted to the true Sun Great World by chance, but they were much rarer. Even the Chaos Realm giants who had invaded their world had left behind traces in the true Sun Great World. After all, an expert who could create a world with a thought was equivalent to an army. When they came, they would naturally lead an army to invade. Creating a world with a thought was already like this, let alone a Chaos Realm giant. I need to buy a large amount of spirit marrow, but I can't let anyone find out. Do you have any suggestions? Master, may I ask how much spirit marrow you're talking about? Xinghui pondered for a moment about how much spirit marrow he would need to nurture 20 wood spirits, and finally said, let's start with 300,000. 300,000. Taba Zhangkong, who had been cautious, could not help but widen his eyes. Master, you said 300,000 spirit marrow, not spirit crystals? You didn't hear wrong. 300,000 spirit marrow worth 300 Dao rhymes. Hiss, even though he was already mentally prepared, the wealth of his master still made Taba Zhangkong suck in a breath of cold air. Master, why do you need so much spirit marrow? I obtained some wood spirits by chance. Wood spirits need spirit chi to nurture plants, so I plan to prepare more in one go. But 300,000 spirit marrow is too much. Taba Zhangkong laughed bitterly. After a while, he said, moreover, if Master wants to nurture with spirits, you don't necessarily need spirit marrow. Azure Wood Spiritual Liquid is more effective than spirit marrow, and the price is only a third of spirit marrow. Azure Wood Spiritual Liquid. Xinghui had never heard of such a treasure before and was immediately interested. Is this a product unique to the Tsangshuan continent? Yes. Azure Wood Spiritual Liquid can only be nurtured by Tsangshuan ancient trees that are 10,000 years old and above. The price is not high. 30 cubes of Azure Wood Spiritual Liquid is about 1 Dao rhyme, but its effect on wood spirits is comparable to 3 Dao rhymes of spirit marrow. I'll buy it. Xinghui waved his hand. I plan to buy 100 Dao rhymes of Azure Wood Spiritual Liquid. Where can I buy it? Mountain Leaf City's Gu family. The Gu family has the largest Tsangshuan wood forest in the Tsangshuan continent. Speaking of this, Taba Zhangkong seemed to have thought of something and paused. But the Gu family's reputation is a little bad. There have been several rumors of them bullying their customers. Therefore, Master should go to a few more places. Although these places can't provide 100 years of Azure with spiritual liquid in one go, the output will not be less than 10 Dao rhymes. Okay, let's not delay. Where's the nearest place? Xinghui asked. The cultivation path he had set revolved around the dragonization fruit tree. Now that there was a way to accelerate the ripening of the dragonization fruit tree, he naturally couldn't wait. Blackwood City's Zish family. Let's go. Sing Hui immediately got up and headed to the Zish family under Taba Zhangkong's lead. The azure wood spiritual liquid was the companion of the ancient Sangshuan wood. Although the ancient Sangshuan wood was valuable, it was only useful to cultivators below the shattering vacuum realm. As a result, the Zish family, who made a living by selling the azure wood spiritual liquid, couldn't be called a top clan in Blackwood City. However, because there were several great figures in the Zish family who had cultivated the divine true body, they also had a lot of power and influence in Blackwood City. When Tsing Hui and the others landed in the Zish family's castle, they saw a large building that stretched for nearly 100 kilometers. Moreover, the entire building was protected by a 16th order formation. Even if a maverick expert rashly broke in, there was a possibility that they would end up with a grievance. The arrival of Taba Zhangkong, an expert at the peak-shattering vacuum realm, naturally attracted the attention of the Zish family. Soon, an elder of the shattering vacuum realm came over to welcome them. I am Zish Xing, the 12th elder of the Zish family. Is there anything the Zish family can help you with? Master has naturally come to the Zish family for the azure wood spiritual liquid. How much azure wood spiritual liquid does your Zish family have? We want all. Taba Zhangkong said indifferently. Hearing that Taba Zhangkong wanted to buy all the azure wood spiritual liquid of the Zish family, Zish Xing snorted coldly in his heart. But on the surface, he still smiled and said, Our Zish family sells the azure wood spiritual liquid for a living and has accumulated a lot over the years. Not to mention a lot, we still have more than 40 cubes. Sir, do you really want to buy it all at once? Only 40 cubes? Sing Hui frowned. This amount was a little. However, it was better than nothing. Prepare everything for me. I will pay with the Dao vessel. Give me an accurate amount. Sing Hui said indifferently. You want to buy it all and pay with the Dao vessel? Seeing that Sing Hui and Taba Zhangkong did not seem to be joking, Zish Xing's face suddenly changed, and he hurriedly gestured with his hand. Honored guests have arrived. Honored guests have arrived. Please come in, please come in. If 2 honored guests are willing to trade with the Dao vessel, our Zish family will definitely give you a satisfactory and affordable price. Quickly prepare it. Sing Hui said. Yes. I will have someone prepare 46 cubes of azure with spiritual liquid. Leading the way, Zish Xing had already sent a message, and the entire Zish family was busy. To the side, Taba Zhangkong hesitated for a moment and whispered, Master, in fact, if we exchange the Dao vessel for spiritual marrow, it will be more affordable. The more procedures there are, the more troublesome and risky it is. The azure wood spiritual liquid I want to trade is not a small amount. I don't want to have any trouble along the way. Besides, it's only a difference of 2 or 3 Dao runes. I can afford to lose it. Hearing Sing Hui's words, Taba Zhangkong did not know how to respond. Soon, an old man of the Zish family with divine true body cultivation had personally come to Tsing Hui and handed over the 46 cubes of azure with spiritual liquid to Tsing Hui. He also gave Tsing Hui a lifetime VIP card of the Zish Chamber of Commerce. His attitude was extremely warm. When Tsing Hui left, even if he and Taba Zhangkong had already flown away, the Zish family's old ancestor and elders still watched Tsing Hui and did not leave for a long time. Their service attitude could be said to be like a guest at home, and no one could find any fault with it. Chapter 774. The 46 cubes of azure wood essence were immediately transferred into Tsing Hui's personal space for the Wood Spirit Empress to absorb. Just as Tooba Changkong had said, the Wood Spirit Empress absorbed the azure wood essence several times faster than the spirit marrow. She had already given birth to a wood spirit after absorbing less than a third of the 46 cubes of azure wood essence. At this rate, if he could purchase 300 cubes of azure wood essence, it wouldn't be difficult for the Wood Spirit Empress to give birth to another 20 wood spirits. Very good. Sing Hui's eyes flashed. Let's go to the next place. Who's next? There are 3 other places in Blackwood City that also produce azure wood essence, but their output isn't high. The three places together probably only have a dozen to 20 cubes of azurewood essence. The next place is the Purple Flame sect of Hundred Flower City, but our relationship with Hundred Flower City isn't very good, and we don't have a teleportation formation. It's nearly 1,000,000 kilometers to fly there. While speaking, Tuoba Chankong's gaze fell on Tsinghui. If my lord finds it troublesome, we can take a flying boat. The Tsangshuan continent has a special flying force, and it's very fast. It can travel 1,000,000 kilometers in 2 or 3 days. 2 or 3 days. There's no need. We can fly there directly. Tsinghui said. Fly there? Tuoba Chankong looked at Tsinghui and had no choice but to say, then I'll fly with master. Just follow me. Tsinghui had already shot into the air, piercing through the void in the blink of an eye and shooting into the firmament. He could fly over 100 kilometers in a breath by operating his divine ability, chasing light. As his understanding of the laws of space grew more profound, he could already travel over 1,000 kilometers in 4 or 5 breaths. A breath was about 2 to 3 seconds, so 1,000 kilometers in 5 breaths was a speed of 240,000 kilometers per hour. This speed wasn't inferior to any vacuum-shattering expert. In fact, if he operated his divine ability to the limit, his speed would be even faster. Tuoba Chankong, who followed closely behind Tsinghui, felt somewhat helpless at Tsinghui's stubbornness. However, when Tsinghui really displayed his speed, he was slightly stunned, especially when he started to travel at full speed, only to be able to keep up with Tsinghui's speed. Shock and solemnity appeared in his eyes. This speed, this level of use and comprehension of the law of space, compared to me, a vacuum-shattering expert, is not inferior. No, in terms of comprehension of the law, he should be above me, but he is a little inexperienced in using it. What is more frightening is that even when he is traveling through the void, he does not reveal any aura. This method of hiding aura is terrifying. If he wants to turn into an assassin and quietly assassinate someone, who below the divine real body can stop him. Thinking of this, Tuoba Chankong, who was originally somewhat dismissive of his master and only served him because his soul brand was controlled by him, finally calmed down and truly felt a trace of reverence. With Tsinghui's astonishing speed, 1,000,000 kilometers was traversed in less than half a day, and this was because Tsinghui had stopped and waited for Tuoba Chankong for a period of time. Tsinghui had raised his recovery ability to the 10th level, but Tuoba Chankong had not. Although the True Sun Great World was close to the Divine Wilderness Great World and could be considered rich compared to ordinary worlds of the same level, Tuoba Chankong, who is equivalent to a golden core expert of the Divine Wilderness Great World, was only at the 12th level of chaos. This was also because he was the great elder of the Sword Astral Sect. Some vacuum-shattering experts were not even at the 10th level of chaos, which was even more unbearable. After realizing that he had become a burden to Tsinghui in terms of speed, Tuoba Chankong's old face turned red, which was a rare sight. Since then, in front of Tsinghui, he no longer dared to show the slightest bit of respect on the surface and arrogance in his heart. After traversing 1,000,000 kilometers, Tsinghui and Tuoba Chankong soon arrived at the Purple Flame sect. After spending 11 Taoist rhymes to buy 34 cubic meters of azurewood spiritual liquid, they set off again and went straight to another destination. In 5 days, Tsinghui and Tuoba Chankong had already visited 6 houses and bought a total of 230 cubic meters of azurewood spiritual liquid. And in these 5 days, with the support of a large amount of azurewood spiritual liquid, the Wood Spirit Queen also maintained the speed of 1 wood spirit per day, constantly breeding new wood spirits. It seemed that the number of 20 wood spirits was just around the corner. However, the two of them ran around and bought azurewood spiritual liquid. In just 5 days, they had spent more than 70 Taoist rhymes on items that carried Taoist rhymes, which finally attracted the attention of some people. Because this matter happened in the circle of azurewood spiritual liquid sales, the first to target Tsinghui and Tuoba Chankong was a sect called the Giant God Sect. The Giant God Sect was one of the many small sects in the Tsangshuan continent. besides the sect master, Taoist Giant Wood, who had cultivated the divine true body, the rest of the elders were all at the shattering void stage. The giant god sect also sold azure with spiritual liquid, but because the production was low, Tsing Hui did not come. Even so, he was still the first to notice the turmoil in the azure wood spiritual liquid market. According to the direction and pattern of Tsing Hui and Tooba Changkong's progress, the sect master of the giant god sect immediately gathered the 6 most trusted elders in the sect and went to Tsing Hui and the others' next destination, the Cloud Mist Secret Forest, which was a path that the Sun family must pass through. They quietly lurked there, waiting for their prey to take the bait. However, just as they entered the Cloud Mist Secret Forest, a figure directly stepped out from inside. "You're from the giant god sect? Get lost." At the sight of the figure, the sect master of the giant god sect, Taoist Giant Wood's expression changed. "You're a grand elder of the Gu clan Senate, Gu Qijin." Taoist Giant Wood, "Don't think that I don't know why you're here. To tell you the truth, our Gu clan has already set our eyes on that prey. If you don't want your giant god sect to be destroyed, you'd better leave obediently. Otherwise, don't blame me for being ruthless." Gu Qijin said sternly. "You." Taoist Giant Wood's expression turned very ugly as he looked at Gu Qijin. "Gu Qijin, in terms of cultivation, you've only broken through to the divine true body stage a little more than 10 years ago, and you've even cultivated the Jiuying true body. How can you compare to my tongue serpent true body? In my opinion, this prey should be divided equally between our 2 clans. When the time comes, we'll each get half of the azure with spiritual liquid and the Tao carrying object." "Oh, you want to use your cultivation to suppress me? Fine, I'll give up on this target. However, if you dare to intercept my Gu clan's prey, your giant god sect should consider carefully whether you can bear the price." "You." A cold light flashed in Taoist Giant Wood's eyes. The giant god sect was just a small sect, and he was the only divine, true body expert in the sect. However, the Gu clan was a hegemon. Although they couldn't be compared to the top 16 forces of the Zhongshuan continent, they had a reigning body expert and could be considered the overlord of the nearby territories. If they really wanted to deal with the giant god sect, there was no need for their reigning body ancestor to take action. Just 2 or 3 grand elders who had cultivated the divine true body would be enough to uproot the giant god sect. "Why? Perhaps you can try and see if you can keep me here. If you can successfully silence me, no one will know who did it." After Gu Qijin finished speaking, he seemed to have thought of something. "Right, you have to defeat me as soon as possible. Otherwise, if I spread the news in the Chaos Divine Hall, your giant god sect won't be able to escape the fate of destruction." Taoist Giant would glare at Gu Qijin unwillingly. In the end, he could only wave his hand sullenly. "Let's go. A wise man submits to circumstances. Farewell. I won't see you off." Gu Qijin sneered with a faint smile on his face. After breaking through to the divine true body realm and becoming a member of the Senate, he could finally hold his head up high in his family. Therefore, he had enjoyed using his family's power to crush those small factions for the past decade or so. He looked at those who were usually stronger than him, but dared not speak out of fear of the Gu family's power, especially when he still had a trump card up his sleeve. "Sect Master, are we just going to let it go like this?" Taoist Giant would turn to leave. A vanquishing vacuum rank elder beside him asked somewhat unwillingly, "Let it go? How can we just let it go like this? The Gu family wants to monopolize that prey? Dream on. The azure wood essence on that prey is already worth more than 70 Taoist rhymes. Not to mention that he obviously has other Taoist treasures on him. That's a profit of nearly 100 Taoist rhymes. It's worth it even if the giant god sect foundation is sacrificed. After all, the giant god sect was single-handedly raised by me. As long as I, the sect master, am still around, the giant god sect won't be destroyed." Then, sect master's plan. "We'll go around the Cloud Mist Woods and intercept them in front." Taoist Giant Wood said without hesitation. "All right." The elders who had come with him all agreed solemnly. Together with Taoist giant wood, they quickly went around the cloud mist woods and headed in the direction of Tsinghui. However, before they could completely go around the cloud mist woods, a voice suddenly rang out from behind Taoist giant wood. Haha, I was just considering whether or not to kill you. After all, the soaring serpent's true form is adept at flight, and escape is a little troublesome. Who would have thought that you would be so stubborn as to appear in front of me for the second time? There's a path to heaven, but you refuse to take it, and instead barge into the gates of hell. Taoist giant would whipped his head around and glared at Gu Qijin, who was following closely behind him. Gu Qijin, do you really think that I won't dare kill you just because you're from the Gu family? Even if I kill you, I'll just have to flee to other continents. Do you really think the Gu family can do anything to me? Haha, we'll only know whether we can do anything to you after we fight. I, Gu Qijin, spent 1,800 years to advance from the immortality stage to the divine stage. However, it only took me 100 years to advance from the peak of the domain stage to the divine true body stage. Do you really think that's because I've been accumulating strength for a long time? Even if you're slightly stronger than me in terms of cultivation base, it's just a matter of how determined I am to kill you. After Gu Qijin finished speaking, he immediately attacked. A ball-like treasure rapidly expanded in his hand. Soon, it formed a 30-kilometer-wide barrier, enveloping Taoist giant wood within it. The ancient divine world. Is that a fragment of the ancient divine world? You actually have such a treasure. You must have obtained the treasure from this fragment. No wonder you could attain the divine true body in such a short time. The fragment of the ancient divine world is the key to opening the divine kingdom. Countless big shots are trying their best to collect it. Aren't you afraid that others will find out and kill you? Taoist giant wood's face was filled with shock and anger when he saw the treasure that trapped him. Naturally, no one will know after I kill you. However, before the battle between the two of them could completely erupt, two figures swiftly arrived from the horizon. It was Tsinghui and Tuoba Changkong. Chapter 775. Just now, I think I heard something about the ancient God world fragment. Tuoba Changkong arrived on his sword. Attracted by Gu Qijin's words, he couldn't help but slow down. The ancient God world. Yes, it came from the ancient overgod. An ancient god who fell in our true sun great world 3,000 years ago. His status was comparable to the master of gods, who was at the second tier of the chaotic realm. It was said that the ancient God world master was blessed by the master of gods, and the power of his god kingdom could slightly interfere with the power of the chaos temple, making it difficult for cultivators trapped in the ancient God world to sense the presence of the chaos temple for a short period of time. But that's not the point. The point is, if we can gather the ancient God world fragment, we can open the God kingdom of the fallen overgod and obtain the endless treasures in it. With the wealth of an overgod, the treasures in it would be enough for someone to cultivate to the level of world creation with a thought, or even for someone who could reach the chaotic realm. Tsinghui's eyes lit up when he heard this. At this moment, Gu Qijin and Giant Wood's spiritual master, who were fighting in the void, noticed Tsinghui and Tuoba Changkong. Gu Qijin's expression changed when he saw the two of them. How could they be so fast? According to our informants, they would need at least an hour to reach here. Gu Qijin, the news of the ancient God world fragment has already spread. There will definitely be top powers who can create a world with a thought coming to capture you and force you out of the ancient God world fragment. I'd like to see what you're going to do then. You've really shot yourself in the foot with what you've done today, haha. Giant Wood's spiritual master could not help but laugh when he saw Tsinghui and Tuoba Changkong appear. Damn it! Gu Qijin's eyes flashed with anger as he glanced coldly at Giant Wood's spiritual master. It doesn't matter if the news gets out or not, you're dead meat. I'll use the ancient God world fragment to trap you and deal with the two of them. Then I'll deal with you. It doesn't matter if they spread the news before they die, because no one will believe the words of the dead. With that, he turned and shot up into the air, heading straight for Tsinghui. Master, leave quickly, I'll stop him. Tuoba Changkong, saw Gu Qijin coming for him and immediately shouted as he rushed forward. "Old man, you're courting death." Gu Qijin growled. In the next moment, a shadow of a Jiuying appeared behind him. The Jiuying quickly entered Gu Qijin's body. With the power of the Jiuying, Gu Qijin's body immediately grew. In the blink of an eye, he grew from an ordinary man of about 178 meters to a giant of about 200 meters. Furthermore, 8 python-like heads grew from his back. His body was also covered in scales. He looked like a terrifying half-human, half-nining monster. Jiuying True Body. This was the Jiuying True Body formed by the divine True Body realm. To use the Jiuying True Body to deal with a void-shattering realm cultivator, Gu Qijin was determined to kill Tuoba Changkong and Xinghui. Roar! Just as Gu Qijin transformed into the Jiuying True Body, Giant with Spiritual Master, who was trapped in the ancient God World fragment, also roared. His body grew explosively, and he grew into a 240-meter giant. Unlike the Jiuying True Body, Giant with Spiritual Master's divine True Body had a layer of Xuanwu tortoiseshell on his back, and a thick tail grew out of his back. He used both his hands and tail to attack the ancient God World fragment crazily. He wanted to take advantage of Gu Qijin's distraction to tear the ancient God World fragment apart and escape. Void Collapse Skill. Break for me. Tuoba Changkong faced Gu Qijin, who had transformed into the Jiuying True Body. Divine aura surged from his body, and as his power skyrocketed, he also used his own super ability. The space in a radius of several thousand meters in front of him collapsed instantly, as if a hole had been swallowed. Any living being or matter in this area was torn to pieces by the spatial storm that spread out from the collapsed space. A mantis trying to stop a chariot. Gu Qijin's eyes flashed with a trace of disdain. One of the 8 python heads behind him suddenly hissed, and circles of invisible ripples spread out, directly stopping Tuoba Changkong's void-shattering realm attack and causing the spatial storm inside to freeze. Taking advantage of this opportunity, he directly crossed the range of Taba Zhangkong's divine ability attack and arrived in front of Taba Zhangkong. Several giant python heads swooped down at the same time. The pure explosive power swept through space and swept towards Taba Zhangkong in an instant. Pure speed and power were displayed vividly on him. Bang! Tuoba Changkong tried his best to evade, but he was only able to last for a few moments before a giant serpent's head locked onto him. Blazing and berserk flames of destruction shot out from the giant serpent's head, turning into a giant rainbow of flames that could burn the sky and boil the sea. Not only did it completely engulf Tuoba Changkong, but the scattered power also rushed into the ground without any reduction in momentum, directly burning the ground within a radius of several dozen kilometers to ashes. If it weren't for the many ancient Sangshuan trees planted in the area, the flames would have wiped out everything within a radius of several dozen kilometers. The power of the divine, true body level. Xing Hui's expression was a little grave. He was confident in his battle strength, but without using the transformation art, he was on par with Tuoba Changkong, and this was even after taking into account his advantage of the chaotic stage. But now, Tuoba Changkong, who was at the peak of the shattering void stage, was directly defeated by Gu Qijin and was almost burned to ashes by the torrent of flames. If it were him, the result wouldn't be much better. With this thought, his figure flashed, and he appeared beside Tuoba Changkong, who had escaped from the torrent of flames. Tuoba Changkong's entire body seemed to have been burned to charcoal, and he shouted, "Enter my personal space, and I'll take you away." "Leave? Do you think you can leave?" Gu Qijin, who had transformed into his divine true body, roared. The 8 heads behind him spewed out frost and fire power at the same time, bringing with them a monstrous power that overturned the sky. Great Expansion, Sword Chi. Go! Xing Hui pointed his finger, and 49 Great Expansion Sword Chi roared out from his body, trying to crush the frost and fire power that Gu Qijin spewed out. But when his Great Expansion Sword Chi, which was so powerful that it could tear apart domains as easily as taking something out of his pocket, slashed into the frost and fire power. It was like an iron sword slashing into a diamond. It instantly collapsed, sputtering into countless scattered sword chi. Apart from slightly slowing down the power of ice and fire, the 49 sword chis didn't cause any damage to the power of ice and fire. This power, Tsing Hui's eyes narrowed slightly, and the scarlet abyss sword in his hand slashed out. Solar eclipse. Suddenly, as if Tuoba Changkong had used the void collapse art, a pitch-black sphere seemed to appear in front of him, constantly destroying the frost and fire power that was surging towards him. Unfortunately, it was still useless. The power of a divine true body expert was far above that of a shattering void stage expert. That pitch-black sphere swallowed less than a third of the frost and fire power before collapsing on its own. The remaining frost and fire power continued to surge down without slowing down. But after this obstruction, the heavily injured Tuoba Changkong finally escaped into Tsing Hui's personal space. Without any hesitation, Tsing Hui used the halting art and the teleportation art. Accompanied by a spatial ripple, his figure completely disappeared in the torrent of fire and frost that followed closely behind. Sensing that Tsing Hui's aura had disappeared, Gu Qijin was slightly stunned and did not react for a moment. The next moment, he seemed to have thought of something, and his face was filled with shock. The teleportation art. That was the teleportation art. The teleportation art that can only be used when one is at level 30 of the Chaos stage. This little thief's Chaos stage is actually at such a high level. Thinking of this, he was both shocked and furious. It had to be mentioned that even among existences who could create worlds with a single thought, not all of them could reach the 30th level of Chaos. Most of the peak experts who could create worlds with a single thought were actually only at the 29th level of Chaos, while a small number of them were only at the 24th or 25th level. It was exactly because of this that Gu Qijin had never considered the possibility of two veneer-shattering experts possessing a teleportation technique. As a result, when Qing Su used a teleportation technique to escape earlier, he was actually still studying the surroundings carefully, trying to understand what Qing Su had used to hide himself. He did not connect it to a teleportation technique at all, which resulted in him missing the best opportunity to pursue Qing Su. Looking at the empty void now, and thinking of the news about the ancient god world that was about to be exposed, Gu Qijin was shocked and furious. He fiercely turned to Taoist Giant Wood, who was bombarding the ancient god world, and said, "If my ancient god world's power wasn't hindered by you, how could I let a cooked duck fly away? That kid seems to only be at the vacuum-shattering realm, but he can raise the level of Chaos to level 30. He must have a big secret. It's all because of you that I missed this great opportunity. Go to hell." Whoosh! In a wilderness that was over 1,000,000 kilometers away from the cloud mist secret forest, there was a flash of spatial fluctuation, and a figure immediately appeared. It was Tsing Hui. As Tsing Hui appeared, he immediately waved his hand, and the charred Tuoba Changkong appeared in front of him. However, what happened earlier was just far too shocking for Taba Changkong, such that he did not even have the time to check on his wounds when he suddenly appeared. Instead, he looked at Qing Su in shock. "Master, why? You've actually increased your personal space to the 10th level? Level 10 personal space is very useful for breaking through to the world creation stage. Why not?" Tsing Hui said, and at the same time added, "Don't ask what you shouldn't ask. All right, let's find a place to heal." Tuoba Changkong looked around, and when he realized that they had returned to the forest half a day ago, he seemed to have guessed something, and his eyes were filled with shock again. Could it be a teleportation technique that only level 30 Sons of Chaos could use? However, Tsing Hui had already warned him, so he did not dare to ask again. He could only suppress his thoughts and heal his injuries. Divine true body, While Tuoba Changkong was healing his injuries, Tsing Hui raised his head and looked in Gu Qijin's direction. In his first battle in the True Sun Great World, he was forced to use teleportation to escape. He was really in a sorry state. However, The scene in front of him clearly warned him that this was no longer the divine wilderness where he could roam freely. Instead, it was the true sun-great world where experts were as common as clouds, and there were even Chaos Realm giants overseeing it. Chapter 776. 3 days passed very quickly. Because the level of recovery was not high, it took Tuoba Changkong 3 days to completely recover, which left Sing Hui somewhat speechless. Recovered? Your subordinate has already recovered. Thank you for saving me, master. Tuoba Changkong expressed his heartfelt gratitude. You don't have to thank me, Sing Hui said, then asked, in your opinion, what is the cultivation level of the man who cultivated the divine true body 3 days ago? He should have reached a certain level of maturity in the divine true body realm. This can be seen from the form of his divine true body. Oh, tell me about it. Strictly speaking, the divine true body realm can be divided into 4 small stages. The first small stage is exactly the same as the form of a divine beast. This form is also called the initial stage of the divine true body realm. After that is the second stage, which is half human and half beast. The 2 experts of the divine true body realm 3 days ago belong to this stage. This realm can be easily reached as long as one has enough resources and time. It is just a matter of how much time is spent. Sing Hui nodded. According to his understanding, the cultivation of the divine true body realm was also linked to resources. Experts of the 3rd stage of the divine true body realm will have some characteristics of divine beasts on their bodies, but they are not very obvious. As for experts of the 4th stage of the divine true body realm, apart from being enlarged, there's almost no difference between them and humans. Each of the 4 stages of the divine true body realm has a significant difference. A higher stage can basically allow one to fight 2 or even 3 opponents at the same time. The divine true body in the form of a divine beast is much stronger than the divine true body in the form of a divine beast. Correspondingly, the amount of resources required increases exponentially. Just like the golden elixir realm of the Saint realm back then, out of 100 cultivators of the divine true body realm, there is not necessarily one who has cultivated the true divine beast true body. I remember that if one does not cultivate the true divine beast true body, it is impossible to step into the chaotic realm, right? Sing Hui had heard the 7-star sword spirits say that the so-called laws of this world were transformed from the 12 divine beast ancestors. In other words, only the bloodline of the 12 divine beast ancestors could be recognized by these laws and step into the chaotic first realm. Primal chaos realm. Taba Zhangkong laughed bitterly. Chaotic realm. That's a top figure. Most people don't even dare to think about it. In fact, many experts with divine true body cultivate to this realm not because of the amazing battle power gained from this realm, but because of the increase in lifespan brought by this realm. Just like the golden elixir realm in the saint realm, once one enters the divine true body realm, their lifespan is often in the tens of thousands. For some long-lived species like Xuanwu, even living for 100,000 years is not an extravagant hope. Sing Hui nodded slightly. No wonder he felt that there seemed to be too many practitioners of the divine true body realm in this world. At least compared to the divine true body realm, there were at most 2 or 3 times more practitioners of the vacuum-shattering realm. It was a complete waste of the difference between the 2 realms and the difficulty of cultivation. If you've rested enough, let's continue our journey. Again, Tuoba Zhangkong could not help but be slightly stunned by Sing Hui's words. It was quite a while before he said, "Master, I'm afraid that we'll have to consider this matter at length. I think that Gu Qijin will definitely not let us off so easily." Sing Hui frowned. Would he dare to take advantage of us? It's not that he wants to take advantage of us. It's just that he has the ancient god fragment and has to think of a way to get rid of us as soon as possible to prevent the news from spreading. Tuoba Zhangkong laughed bitterly. After hearing Tuoba Zhangkong's words, Sing Hui fell silent. This matter is indeed troublesome. Actually, it's not really troublesome. The key is what you think. If you don't want to plot against the ancient over-God's kingdom, you just have to leak the news, and someone will naturally go and deal with Gu Qijin. By then, he will be in so much trouble that he won't have the time to deal with us. I'm afraid that after his ancient god fragment is taken away by a top expert, he will still bear a grudge against us and attack us. As long as we hide in Xiao Dao, they won't dare to act rashly. After all, Xiao Dao is backed by a top expert who can create a world with a single thought. It's not something that a small Gu family can afford to offend. Xinghui really didn't want to get too entangled with the Gu family. At the same time, he didn't want to waste too much time on Gu Qijin. What he wanted to do was to gather resources as quickly as possible so that he could obtain the power to create a world with a single thought. But now, it was Gu Qijin who didn't want to let them go. Actually, if you're willing, there's another way to solve your problem. Oh, what way? Assassination. I understand. Xinghui fell silent. Strike first and gain the upper hand. But no matter what, if he did that, he would form a feud. By then, if I'm not strong enough, it's really hard to move around. Especially in the true Sun Great World. If I hastily use the shape-shifting technique and people find out that my chaotic level has reached level 50, I'll definitely be in big trouble. By then, those who have their eyes on me won't be as simple as a divine true body. This was also the reason why Xinghui didn't use the shape-shifting technique when facing Gu Qijin. Although the shape-shifting technique gave him the ability to fight against a divine true body expert, it was still far from being able to kill a divine true body expert. Unless his life essence metamorphosed to the divine beast level, or his physique reached level 13 and he forcibly transformed into the omnipotent divine beast Kumping, he really couldn't guarantee that he would be able to kill a divine true body expert. Since it's dangerous for us to go to those small forces to buy the Azurewood essence, then we'll just go ahead and ask them to prepare the Azurewood essence. Then, we'll ask the Void Walkers to make the transaction through the Chaos Temple. This method is feasible, but it'll cost a lot to ask the Void Walkers to make the transaction. Without more than 10 Taoist rhymes, the Void Walkers may not be willing to make the transaction. Don't worry, I'll take care of this matter. Just use your channels to post the request for the Azurewood essence. We won't make the transaction if it's less than 100 cubes of Azurewood essence. Moreover, the other party must have a certain level of credibility. Xinghui said. Tuoba Changkong's heart ached when he heard this. 100 cubes of Azurewood essence was only about 30 Taoist rhymes, and asking the Void Walkers to make the transaction would cost at least 10 Taoist rhymes. In other words, the handling fee accounted for 1/3 of the total transaction. This kind of transaction, it was a huge loss. Only someone like his master, who didn't lack money, would choose this kind of transaction. Let's go back, Xinghui said, then turned around and flew in the direction of Blackwood City. Since his skills were inferior, he could only stay at home for the time being. A few days later, Xinghui returned to the East Sun Peak. Meanwhile, Taba Changkong was in charge of distributing the information. Due to the fact that green ruins required a rather large amount, there were not a lot of merchants who could actually afford to sell his Azurewood essence. Fortunately, he had offered a price of 100 cubes of Azurewood essence, which was 35 cubes of Dao-bearing items. Obviously, countless people began to think of ways to collect Azurewood essence from everywhere. On the 4th day after the news was released, Xinghui finally found the first seller. Relying on the mystery of standing straight and shadowless, he directly asked for the trader's coordinates and used the incarnation technique to simulate a middle-aged man to descend on the transaction site. Because he only chose an ordinary incarnation and didn't descend on others, everyone present could clearly see that he was an incarnation. I've been entrusted to make a transaction. Who is the trader? Xinghui said slowly with an indifferent expression. There were a total of 3 traders in front of him, and the one with the highest cultivation was only at the vacuum-shattering realm. When Xinghui's incarnation descended, the 3 of them carefully sized him up, as if trying to figure out his origin. What? I've heard that your Twilight Merchant Guild has been in business for more than 3,000 years. You're not toying with my employer, are you? When the time comes, even I won't agree to it, let alone my employer." As Tsing Hui spoke, he waved his hand in the air, and all kinds of mysteries were displayed in his hand. Even though he'd only sent an ordinary incarnation, the faintly revealed comprehension of laws made the three vacuum-shattering realm powerhouses widen their eyes. The man in front of them had at least reached the unrivaled realm in his comprehension of laws. Furthermore, considering that he could summon an incarnation technique that was at least at the 25th level of the Chaos Realm, he was one of the best in the unrivaled realm. "We wouldn't dare. Please take a look, Senior," the man in the lead hurriedly said, and took out 100 cubes of azure wood essence. "Very good." Tsing Hui judged the amount of azure wood essence, took out the item with 35 Taoist rhymes, and stored it in his personal space. He then said directly, "The transaction is complete. Farewell." Having said that, his incarnation disappeared without a trace. Almost as soon as his incarnation disappeared, a man with a gloomy expression walked out from the shadows. It was Gu Qijin, the new elder of the Gu clan. "Sir, it's not that we don't want to help you stop him. It's just that there's no point in stopping a mere incarnation. Moreover, as you've seen, based on his comprehension of laws, it's very likely that he's an important figure in the unrivaled realm. Even the Gu clan can't afford to offend such an important figure." "All right, I understand," Gu Qijin said impatiently. Looking in the direction Tsing Hui's incarnation had left, he pondered with a gloomy expression. It seems like this kid doesn't intend to spread the news. Obviously, he also wants to obtain the ancient divine realm fragment. Or perhaps he's afraid of the Gu clan's power and doesn't want to offend the Gu clan over such a small matter. In that case, for the time being, news about the ancient divine realm should be safe. Thinking of this, he let out a slight sigh of relief, but he was also a little angry. That brat is the bishop of Taoism seeking, and the place where he lives is guarded by several experts at the divine true body level. There's also a reigning realm elder living in seclusion. With my ability, it's impossible to sneak in and kill him. But I'll let you live for a while longer. With the resources I've obtained, I'll have a high chance of advancing to the reigning realm in 30 to 40 years if I'm fast, and 60 to 70 years if I'm slow. Chapter 777. A total of 562 cubes. It shouldn't be difficult to use this amount to breed 30 wood spirits. As long as these 30 wood spirits are bred, in addition to the original ones, the growth time of the dragonization fruit tree will be shortened to 6 years. Once the dragonization fruit tree matured, it would bear dozens of dragonization fruits. After consuming those dragonization fruits, Tsing Hui's physique would not only rise to the 13th order, but could even rise to the 14th order in the next 1 or 2 years. In addition to the dragonization fruit's enhancement of life essence, he was confident that he would be able to fight against experts who had cultivated the divine true body with just the 49 Great Diffraction sword chi. "Has anyone contacted us recently to sell the dragonization fruit tree spiritual liquid?" Tsing Hui paid attention to the growth of the dragonization fruit tree while asking Tooba Changkong, who was in charge of the Eastern Sun Peak. "At present, we've bought most of the dragonization fruit tree spiritual liquid in the entire Sichuan continent. Other than the Gu clan, who may have some, we've contacted all the other clans that sell it." Taba Zhangkong replied respectfully. "Is there no more?" Tsing Hui looked at the few dozen wood spirits in his personal space with some regret. If the number of wood spirits could exceed 100. "Master, in fact, not long ago, the deacon of the Scarlet Jade Chamber of Commerce sent someone to invite us to attend an auction in 100 Flower City. There were many treasures for sale in that auction, including a heavenly spirit fruit tree and a 100,000-year crystal wood core. The heavenly spirit fruit tree is a companion fruit tree and has the effect of transforming spirit energy for cultivation. The wood spirits can feed on the Yuan Qi transformed by the heavenly spirit fruit tree, and the crystal wood core is one of the top treasures of heaven and earth. although its effect on wood spirits is not as good as the dragonization fruit tree, it is much better than spirit marrow. Crystal wood core? There's actually such a thing? I remember that the crystal wood core's effect is almost twice as good as spirit marrow, right? Singhui quickly asked. Yes, but compared to the dragonization fruit tree, the crystal wood core's price-performance ratio is lower. Moreover, each crystal wood core is expensive. At this point, Tuoba Changkong had already vaguely guessed what Singhui was going to say. As expected, Singhui waved his hand. That's not a problem. As long as we have a crystal wood core, it's fine. When will the Scarlet Jade Chamber of Commerce's auction begin? We are currently preparing for it. It will be officially held in half a year. Half a year? Singhui frowned. Too slow. I remember that the Scarlet Jade Chamber of Commerce has a good reputation. Yes, the Scarlet Jade Chamber of Commerce is one of the top 3 chambers of commerce in the Hunyuan continent, and even in the entire True Sun Great World. There has almost never been a scandal, and even if there were 1 or 2 times, it would be proven to be false accusations. Good. Go give me the coordinates of the Scarlet Jade Trade Union. We'll head there right away. Now, Taba Zhangkong was slightly startled. Isn't it a little too early? There's still half a year before the auction. I don't want to wait half a year. Go and ask for the coordinates. Yes. Tuoba Zhangkong helplessly agreed and quickly did as he was told. Not long after, a set of mental coordinates was sent to Singhui. After obtaining the coordinates, Singhui didn't waste any time and directly used an incarnation technique to send down a clone to the Scarlet Jade Trade Union in 100 Flower City. Because this trip had to be kept secret, he didn't bring Taba Zhangkong with him. Even so, when he arrived at the Scarlet Jade Trade Union in the form of a clone, he was warmly welcomed by the people of the Scarlet Jade Trade Union. After all, to be able to use an incarnation technique, one had to be at least at the 25th order of the Chaos stage. According to the standard of the Sons of Chaos in the True Sun Great World, a 25th Order Son of Chaos had to be at least at the Reigning Realm. Even if the Scarlet Jade Trade Union had a world creation expert behind them, they still didn't dare to underestimate such a character. Welcome, Senior. I am a Senior Deacon of the Scarlet Jade Trade Union, Zichuan. Is there anything I can help you with? Big business has come knocking. Get your chairman to talk to me. Singhui had the experience of pretending to be a big shot in the divine wilderness world. At this moment, he had the attitude of a reigning realm expert. He didn't even care about this divine true body expert called Zichuan. He didn't look like he was forced to flee in a sorry state by Gu Qijin not long ago. Yes. Please wait a moment, Senior. Our chairman Yunhe is already on his way. Please come in. As Zichuan spoke, he led Singhui directly to the highest private room. Not only was this private room isolated by a 15th order array, but the bonsai plants planted inside were also the best of the best. Even if Singhui only stepped in with his incarnation, he still felt refreshed. Not long after Zichuan led Singhui to the private room, a middle-aged man who looked to be in his 50s walked in from outside. He smiled and cupped his hands, saying, I am the vice chairman of the Scarlet Jade Trade Union, Yunhe. Greetings, sir. May I know your name? My name is just a code. Just call me Yuqing. Singhui said, I'm here for the Heavenly Spirit Fruit Tree and the Crystal Wood Core of your trade union. The Heavenly Spirit Fruit Tree and the Crystal Wood Core? Yunhe was slightly startled. Then, a look of embarrassment appeared on his face. These 2 treasures will be auctioned by our Chamber of Commerce in half a year's time. They are not for sale at present. However, if Mr. Yuqing is interested, you can show your strength in half a year's time. I just did a little research. The Heavenly Spirit Fruit Tree has been sold a total of 12 times in the past 10,000 years. The highest price was a 33 Dao charm item. The Crystal Wood Core has been sold a total of 4 times in the past few years. The highest price was 65 Dao charms. I won't beat around the bush. Sell these 2 items to me for a total of 100 Dao charms. Chairman Yunhe's expression turned serious. Is Mr. Yuqing speaking the truth? Singhui waved his hand, and a treasure box appeared in front of Yunhe. Suddenly, both Chairman Yunhe and Deacon Zichuan changed their expressions at the same time. At this time, they had received a notification that the Dao charm item in the treasure box contained a total of 100 Dao charms. The heavenly spirit fruit tree and the crystal wood core that I offered were the highest price in the market. Furthermore, they were sold 6,000 years ago and 4,000 years ago. During these years, the Dao charm market in the True Sun Great World was in a slump. The value of Dao charms had increased by about 10%. If you auction these two items now, it will be considered good if you could sell them for 90 Dao charms. My offer of 100 is equivalent to you getting 10 Dao charms. Yuna's expression changed for a moment. Soon, he made a decision. All right, since Mr. Yuqing is so straightforward, how can I, Yunhe, be looked down upon by Mr. Yuqing? Zichuan, ask Lao to send these two treasures over immediately. Yes. Zichuan responded respectfully and quickly sent out the message. Not long after, accompanied by waves of ripples, a white-haired old man with a sage-like demeanor walked in from outside. The aura of this old man was deep, obscure, and immeasurable. It was even stronger than the Maverick Realm Doyen that Xing Hui had sensed in the Cloud Mountain Cave. Obviously, he not only had the cultivation of the Maverick Realm, but he was also one of the most outstanding figures in the Maverick Realm. As soon as the old man stepped into the private room, his aura triggered the power of law and naturally emitted circles of ripples. However, before this circle of ripples could get close to Xing Hui, it dissipated as Xing Hui gently knocked on the table. It didn't affect him at all. Seeing Xing Hui's move, the old man's eyes suddenly lit up. Is this Mr. Yuqing? You are indeed extraordinary. No wonder you have the courage to take out an item with 100 Dao rhymes to purchase the heavenly spirit fruit tree and the crystal wood core. After speaking, he waved his hand and took out a small fruit tree that was less than 2 meters tall and a crystal wood core with a diameter of 10 centimeters. Mr. Yuqing, please take a look. These are the heavenly spirit fruit tree and the crystal wood core. Xing Hui had already understood the characteristics of the heavenly spirit fruit tree and the crystal wood core. He carefully observed and sensed them. They were indeed real. Coupled with the Scarlet Jade Trade Union's outstanding reputation, he nodded and said, I trust the Scarlet Jade Trade Union. Haha, many thanks, Mr. Yuqing. Please rest assured. Our Scarlet Jade Trade Union will record every transaction with more than 10 Dao rhymes using the image recording stone. One copy of the image recording stone will be kept in our Scarlet Jade Trade Union, and the other copy will be given to you. If there is any problem with the purchase of these two treasures, you can use the image recording stone to claim compensation from our Scarlet Jade Trade Union. As the old man spoke, he gave the heavenly spirit fruit tree and the crystal wood core to Xing Hui. He also took away Xing Hui's 100 Dao rhymes item. At the same time, President Yunhe also used the image recording stone to record this scene. He also gave one of the image recording stones to Xing Hui. All right, I look forward to working with you. Xing Hui had a faint smile on his face. Although a piece of crystal wood heart couldn't create more than 30 wood spirits like the azure wood essence, it could still nurture 8 to 10 wood spirits. This way, the number of wood spirits in his personal space could reach more than 40. And the time it took for the dragonization fruit tree to grow would be shortened again. I look forward to working with you. The old man smiled. At this moment, President Yunhe stepped forward and said, Mr. Yuqing, our Scarlet Jade Trade Union has many other treasures other than the heavenly spirit fruit tree and the crystal wood core. I wonder if Mr. Yuqing is interested in learning about them? Oh, tell me about them. Mr. Yuqing, please allow me to introduce them. President Yunhe waved his hand enthusiastically, and one by one, the items were projected into the private room through the power of the array. Each of these items was extremely precious, and their price was not lower than 10 Dao rhymes. Moreover, each of them had their own unique uses. President Yunhe introduced them one by one, and, at the same time, he paid attention to Xing Hui's expression. If Xing Hui showed any interest, he would introduce them in more detail. If Xing Hui was not interested, he would quickly skip over them. Under such circumstances, he quickly introduced more than half of the auction items and even the collection of the trade union. Among the 20 or so treasures, Tsing Hui was not interested in many of them. However, when he introduced the next treasure, Tsing Hui's eyes suddenly lit up. Mr. Yuqing, please take a look. This is the 29th treasure of our Scarlet Jade Trade Union. It is a strand of dark wilderness chi that our founding elder obtained from the spatial turbulence when he was traveling through space. It is extremely rare. Although the dark wilderness chi has no other effects, it is a sacred item in the hearts of all sacred beasts and divine beasts. It can greatly strengthen their physique and increase their evolution speed. If a 15th level sacred beast obtains a strand of dark wilderness chi, it will definitely be able to evolve to 16th level in a short period of time. Tuoba Zhangkong, I have never seen so much money in my life. Chapter 778. Dark Desolation Chi. Tsing Hui's gaze was immediately attracted by the Dark Desolation Chi, not a bad treasure. Although physique is not very important to cultivators, it can still be of great use at critical moments, especially this kind of treasure that can directly strengthen the physique. What's the price? Mr. Yuqing really has a good eye. Although collecting this Dark Desolation Chi took a lot of effort from the founding members of the Scarlet Jade Chamber of Commerce, and it was obtained by chance, we have just completed a big business with Mr. Yuqing worth 100 Tao Rhymes. Mr. Yuqing is already a big customer of the Scarlet Jade Chamber of Commerce, so we can give Mr. Yuqing an affordable price of 70 Tao Rhymes. 70 Tao Rhymes? A treasure of heaven and earth used to strengthen the physique needs 70 Tao Rhymes? President Yunha, you must be joking. You must know that the cultivators in our world rely on vital essence and bloodline as the foundation. Pure physique is useless unless it can be raised to the 15th or 16th level. Even if it reaches the 15th or 16th level, it's still useless. The essence of life is only equivalent to that of a spiritual beast, and it doesn't have the talent and divine powers of a spiritual beast. I'm afraid it can't even defeat the weakest divine true body expert. Tsing Hui frowned. At the same time, he immediately contacted Tuoba Changkong in the Chaos Divine Palace and asked Tuoba Changkong about the price of the Dark Desolation Chi. Mr. Yuqing, you're wrong. If you temper your physique to the 16th level, you may not be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with a divine true body expert, but you won't necessarily be inferior. In addition, in some special environments, the circulation of the chi of heaven and earth would be deliberately restricted, giving birth to a boundary of heaven and earth similar to a dead space. In those places, even if you have monstrous divine powers, once your vital essence is exhausted, you won't be able to use half of it. On the other hand, if you have a strong physique, no matter what environment you're in, it will be a guarantee of your strength. There's a saying that true strength is true strength when one is strong. Therefore, physique is the essence of a cultivator's life. President Yunha patiently explained the various benefits that could be brought by the improvement of physique. At this moment, Taba Changkong responded to Qing Su as quickly as he could. The price of profound Baron Qi is usually around 60 rhymes of ways. The most expensive strand of profound Baron Qi in history is 69 rhymes of ways. 69 Taoist rhymes. If I include the appreciation of the Taoist rhymes, Tsing Hui quickly came up with a plan. I'm interested in this mysterious desolate Qi, but I'll only offer 65 Taoist rhymes. Guild Master Yunha, just give me an accurate answer if you want to sell it. Yunhe and the old man looked at each other, then smiled and replied, if it were anyone else, we wouldn't agree to 65 Taoist rhymes no matter what. However, we really don't want to lose such a high-quality guest like Mr. Yuqing. Therefore, since Mr. Yuqing has made the offer, then as Mr. Yuqing said, 65 Taoist rhymes it is. When Tsing Hui heard Yunhe's straightforward answer, he immediately understood that his price was still too high. According to the current appreciation rate of Taoist rhymes, even if he only offered 60 Taoist rhymes in the end, he was still 70 to 80% confident that he would be able to buy this mysterious desolate Qi. After all, Although mysterious desolate chi was rare and precious, its physique tempering effect was not considered urgent to many people, so it would be difficult to sell it at a satisfactory price. However, since he had already bought it, Xing Hui did not regret it. After selling the divine weapons and treasures he obtained from the Eternals and Heavenly Tao Saints, he had thousands of items that carried Taoist rhymes. He did not really care about the fluctuation in price of a few Taoist rhymes. This is 65 Taoist rhymes. President Yunhe, please take a look. Mr. Yu Qing is straightforward. President Yunhe accepted the treasures with a smile, while Qing Su accepted the strand of profound wilderness chi as well. Continue? Continue. All right, please take a look. Mr. Yunhe waved his hand again, and a set of armor appeared in front of Xing Hui. This is the Li Chun battle armor? I'll buy it. Mister, take a look. A 17th Order flying sword? It just so happens that the 16th Order flying sword in my hand is not worthy of my status. I'll buy it. Mister, there's also the 6 divine armor can protect the body with the power of the 6 gods. Even a divine true body expert would find it difficult to break through it. I have a disciple that I like, and his cultivation has just broken through recently. I was worried about what kind of gift to give him, and I just happened to buy this item. Mister, this item is also quite extraordinary. Under President Yunhe's introduction, Qing Su bought all of the treasures he fancied, not leaving out a single one. Among them, the Li Chun battle armor cost 60 Dao runes, the 17th Order Eternal Light sword cost 125 Dao runes, and the 6 divine armor cost 38 Dao runes. In addition to some small items, as well as the Heavenly Spirit fruit tree, crystal wood heart, and mysterious desolate chi, the total cost was 400 Dao runes. With such a huge transaction, even the president of the Scarlet Jade Chamber of Commerce was alarmed. If it wasn't for the fact that he wasn't here, he would have rushed over to discuss it with Xing Hui personally. After buying these things, seeing that Xing Hui's foundation was still not empty, President Yunhe couldn't help but feel a little unwilling. However, they had already taken out all the valuable items in the Scarlet Jade Chamber of Commerce, and most of them were treasures that would be auctioned off in half a year. Unfortunately, there were only a few items that could be bought by Xing Hui, and, in the end, they could only regretfully let this transaction come to an end. I am very satisfied with this transaction. If your Scarlet Jade Chamber of Commerce can receive more mysterious desolate chi and crystal wood heart, you can contact me again. At that time, I will come forward to buy them. Mr. Yu Qing, do you still need the crystal wood heart? I happen to know of a place that has a crystal wood heart. I will speak on behalf of Mr. Yu Qing and see if you can get it. All right. In that case, I will have to trouble President Yunhe to get the crystal wood heart. I am willing to buy it for 70 Dao runes. When Yunhe heard this, he immediately became excited. If Mr. Yu Qing is willing to buy the crystal wood heart for 70 Dao runes, this matter is 80 to 90% successful. Please wait for my good news. If it is slow, it will be 1 month. If it is fast, it will be half a month. I will definitely buy the crystal wood heart for Mr. Yu Qing. Then I will wait for President Yunhe's good news. Xing Hui said. As Xing Hui was a big customer who had completed a transaction of 400 Dao runes, President Yunhe did not ask for Xing Hui to pay the deposit in advance. Instead, he sent him off enthusiastically and gave Xing Hui a black jade token. With this black jade token, not only would Xing Hui be able to obtain great benefits and top-notch treatment in the many industries under the Scarlet Jade Chamber of Commerce, but if he was in danger, he could also ask for help from the Scarlet Jade Chamber of Commerce's local branch. The local branch would do their best to help the holder of the black jade token. Not bad. After putting away the black jade token, Xing Hui bid farewell to President Yunhe and left immediately. Yunhe and the others sent his clone off and were unwilling to return for a long time. What a rich customer. A Dao item with 400 Dao runes. More than 90% of the reigning realm and world with a thought experts would not be able to compete with him in terms of wealth. Right? After Yun He and the others returned to their offices, they said with a thoughtful look on their faces, the difference in wealth between reigning realm and world with a thought experts was usually not that great, so the two could be mentioned in the same breath. Of course, those at the peak of world with a thought were exceptions. Naturally, the income of Tao runes has gradually decreased over the years. Apart from the three chaos overlords, there are only a handful of people who can take out a Tao item with 400 Tao runes. Even those powerful existences who can create a world with a thought will find it extremely difficult to gather 400 Tao runes unless they sell their wealth, the reigning realm elder said with a sigh. In the end, he added, this person must have obtained a great opportunity to be able to take out so many Tao items in one go. However, his cultivation is astonishing. I'm afraid it's not below mine. Unless we're willing to let the forefather personally take action, otherwise not below you, old man. Yunha carefully weighed the pros and cons of asking the forefather to take action, but in the end, he said regretfully, let's follow up and see what happens. The forefather's small world is not very stable. It's not wise to act rashly, of course. It's a pity that he sent a clone. It won't be easy to find his real body and inquire about his identity. Don't worry, there will always be a chance. President Cloud Crane said. The reigning realm elder nodded and said no more. Whoosh! Sing Hui's clone returned to its original position and activated the backtrack art again. The weakened state brought about by the reigning art immediately disappeared. Very good. Feeling the benefits of this trip to the Scarlet Jade Merchant Guild, Singhui couldn't help but reveal a faint smile. The true Sun Great World is different from the Divine Wilderness Great World. Due to the Divine Wilderness Great World's glorious history, there are many level 13 to level 18 divine weapons left behind. As for the Divine Wilderness Great World Saints, each of them has a level 13, 14, and even level 15 divine weapon. However, the true Sun Great World Saints are different. If a divine true body expert can have a level 16 divine weapon, they can be considered rich. Most reigning realm experts can't afford a level 16 divine weapon, so they might as well strengthen themselves and rely on the power of their true body. As for world creation realm experts, the proportion of them who have a level 18 divine weapon is even lower. When they fight, it's purely a clash of worlds. On one hand, level 18 divine weapons aren't of much help to them, and level 19 divine weapons are too rare. On the other hand, most world creation realm experts are already having a hard time maintaining their worlds, so how could they be willing to spend their remaining money to buy a level 18 divine weapon that isn't of much help to them? The number of reigning realm experts who use level 18 divine weapons is definitely more than the number of world creation realm experts. It was precisely because divine true body experts couldn't afford to use divine weapons that were too good that Singhui bought the level 17 Eternal Light Sword and the level 17-6 divine armor. It was enough for him to have a decent life-saving ability even against divine true body experts. Of course, it was only limited to life-saving. In his current state, if he wanted to go against divine true body experts, he would need at least a full set of level 18 divine weapon armor. However, to Singhui, the greatest gain wasn't these divine weapons, nor was it the heavenly spirit fruit tree and crystal wood core that he transferred into his personal space. Instead, it was that strand of dark wilderness chi. A strand of dark wilderness chi that could greatly strengthen his physique. As he thought about it, he couldn't wait to pull out this strand of dark wilderness chi from his personal space and directly refine it into his own body. Let me see what kind of effect this strand of dark wilderness chi, which is enough to let a level 15 divine beast evolve to level 16 and greatly shorten the advancement time of a level 15 divine beast, is refined by a human like me. Chapter 779. A month later, Tsing Hui's essence, energy, and spirit had completely changed. Although the effect of the dark wilderness chi on humans could not be compared to that of sacred beasts and mythical beasts, it was still extremely shocking. Before refining the profound barren chi, Ching Su's body was only on par with class 12 saint beasts. Moreover, he had barely reached the level of a Class 12 Saint Beast. However, as he refined the profound barren chi, his body and vital energy skyrocketed. Once he had completely refined the strand of profound barren chi, his body had actually reached the peak of Class 13. As long as Qing Su had some heavenly resources that could refine the body, his body would evolve once more and reach Class 14. It would only be a matter of time. Due to the fact that he had so many treasures of the way on him, Qing Su had bought quite a lot of spiritual items that could refine the body after several dozen years' worth of treasures. Although these heavenly treasures could not be compared to the dark wilderness chi in terms of value, there were many of them. With the accumulation of these heavenly treasures, his physique, which had already reached the peak of the 13th level, transformed again and reached the 14th level in one go. The 14th level physique allowed Xing Hui's body to finally form a special innate ability. The resistance he faced when traversing through the void was reduced to an extremely low level. Coupled with the power of chasing light, Xing Hui could explode with a speed that was not inferior to that of a divine true body expert, even if he did not use the eternal light sword of the 17th level. If he used the eternal light sword of the 17th level, those divine true body experts who were not proficient in speed would be left behind by him. Buzz buzz. In the cultivation room, Xing Hui's body moved. Streaks of blood-red sword light emerged from his body and turned into streaks of sword chi. 49 Dian sword chi. Compared to before, his Dian sword chi was now several times more refined and contained chi and blood power. If he used the Dian sword chi now to fight against Gu Qijin's divine true body, he would definitely be able to fight on par with the frost and flames that Gu Qijin spat out. Furthermore, with the strengthening of his physique, the shape-shifting technique's ability to accept the form of a mythical beast was also much better. At the very least, under the state of the divine art, the 17th level Kunpeng he transformed into should be able to hold on for a few breaths. It's equivalent to the divine beast Kunpeng of the unrivaled realm. It killed Gu Qijin of the second level of the divine true body in a few breaths of time. If it's supported by the freezing spell, it's about the same. However, we have to be careful of the fragment of the ancient divine world on Gu Qijin's body. The fragment can form a barrier that can temporarily seal the target. The sealing ability is so strong that even a pinnacle expert of the divine true body realm won't be able to break it in a short time. A cold light flashed in Xing Hui's eyes. With his current strength, it was more than enough to kill Gu Qijin. However, due to the existence of the ancient god world, there might be some variables. What's there to be afraid of? I have a teleportation technique. At worst, I'll just teleport away. As long as I'm a bit nimble and don't let anyone discover my true identity. So what if my transformation technique is exposed? Thinking of this, Xing Hui stood up and left his cultivation room. After cleaning himself up, he went to the main courtyard. To Oba Changkong, did Gu Qijin send anyone to keep an eye on our Danyang Peak? Master, we found two groups of suspicious people. One of them is a group of people seeking Taoism, and the other should be the Gu family's people sent by Gu Qijin. Seeking Taoism. Xing Hui thought for a while and quickly understood. He had spent a total of 200 Taoist rhymes in seeking Taoism. This number was unimaginable for any virtual Shattering Realm practitioner, so it was reasonable that he had attracted the attention of others. However, because he had been in seclusion in his room all this time and rarely went out, they had no idea where to start and could only keep an eye on him from outside. Very well, Gu Qijin. I really can't do anything to him. You stay at Danyang Peak. I'll go out for a while. Tuoba Changkong's expression changed when he heard that Xing Hui was going out. He hurriedly said, Master, you can't. Gu Qijin is watching outside. If we hide for 8 or 10 years, he might lose his patience and leave. But now it's only been a few days. If you go out, Gu Qijin will definitely kill you. At that time, I'm afraid you won't have such a good opportunity again. If you really have something important to do, Master, you can either contact the Voidwalker you know, or wait for your teleportation technique to cool down before going out. At least that way, you'll have a way out. When Xing Su used the teleportation technique last time, he had used the halting technique, so the teleportation technique was still on cooldown. He could still use it now, which is why he was confident. However, he obviously could not tell Tooba Changkong about this. Don't worry, I've already contacted a top expert. If Gu Qijin dares to come and kill me, I'll make sure he doesn't return. A top expert? Tooba Changkong was taken aback. Then, as if he thought of something, he asked worriedly, Master wants to use yourself as bait to kill Gu Qijin? That's right. But won't we completely offend the Gu clan? So what if we offend them? After he sees that top expert, he'll have to have the courage to take revenge. Sing Hui said. The Gu clan couldn't be considered a top family in the entire Sichuan continent. They only had one grand elder in the reigning realm. Given his current ability, although he wasn't a match for them, it was more than enough to protect himself. Moreover, as long as Sing Hui could put on a good show, the Gu clan wouldn't dare to take revenge. After saying goodbye to Tooba Changkong, Qing Su directly left the Eastern Sun Peak and made his way to Chongguang City. The Scarlet Jade Chamber of Commerce was one of the top chambers of commerce in the Sichuan continent. The only other chamber of commerce that could be mentioned on equal terms with the Scarlet Jade Chamber of Commerce was the Yuan Chong Chamber of Commerce in Heavy Light City. He had gained a lot from the Scarlet Jade Chamber of Commerce and wanted to see if he could gain anything from the Yuan Chong Chamber of Commerce. Because he wanted to lure Gu Qijin out, Sing Hui didn't fly at full speed along the way. It would take some time to reach Heavy Light City, which was 1.8 million kilometers away. These few days of the time, he left for Gu Qijin. Almost as soon as Sing Hui left Donyang Peak, Gu Qijin, who was in closed-door cultivation, received the news from his servant. When he heard that Sing Hui had left Donyang Peak, his face lit up with joy, and he immediately wanted to kill Sing Hui. However, just as he was about to leave, he suddenly thought of something. This person named Dong Yang has been in seclusion for a while now. I'm afraid he already knows that I'm going to attack him. Why did he suddenly leave Donyang Peak? Could it be that he already has a trump card to deal with me? Thinking of the Void Walker who had appeared all over the Sichuan continent to purchase the Azure with spiritual liquid, Gu Qijin's expression suddenly turned grave. A moment later, he had another idea. For safety's sake, I should send someone to test him first. On one hand, I can see if there's really a problem with him. At the very least, I can use up his teleportation technique. He had already notified a gray force active in the Blackwood City area and directly informed him of Sing Hui's wealth. This gray force could be said to be famous in the Blackwood City area. Although it was not publicly known, it was very famous in the underground world. The reason was that there were a total of 6 vacuum-shattering experts in their organization. This force, if alone, was difficult for any vacuum-shattering expert to deal with, so it was enough to test the waters. The gray organization, called the White Fiend Association, moved extremely quickly. Before they had even made it a third of the way to Heavy Light City from Green Ruins, they had already been stopped by the group of 6 vacuum-shattering cultivators and over 30 Grand Dominion and Void Transformation cultivators. If this force was placed in the Divine Wilderness world, it would be enough to flatten the Divine Wilderness world. However, in the True Sun Great World, which maintained its peak state, it could only be regarded as a decent ordinary force. It was still a little short of establishing a sect. Dongyang, right? To be able to live in a high-level cave residence in the Cloud Mountain Cave Heaven, you must have a lot of wealth. It just so happens that we brothers don't have much money left over these years. We would like to ask you for some help. I believe you won't refuse, right? The president of the White Demon Association stepped forward and laughed. Sing Hui's gaze lingered on the president for a while. He was a little surprised that the one who came to stop him was not Gu Qijin. However, after a while, he seemed to have thought of something. With a thought, he activated the aura observation technique and quickly glanced in all directions. Not long after, he saw a familiar chi pillar soaring into the sky. The chi of a divine true body level appeared in the chi pillar, and the shadow of a Jiuying appeared in the chi pillar. It was Gu Qijin. Very good. You actually sent someone to test me while you hid on the side? Since you don't trust me, I'll make you feel at ease." Thinking of this, Tsing Hui's expression suddenly became severe. "You really don't know what's good for you. It just so happens that I've made a breakthrough in one of my divine abilities not long ago. I want to find an expert who had cultivated a divine true body level to test me and see how far I am from a true divine true body level expert. Since you've delivered yourself to me, I won't be polite." As soon as he finished speaking, he directly attacked. 49 sword cheese whizzed out, stabbing toward the dozens of experts of the White Demon Association in front of him. Ching Su had not condensed the sword chi with his full strength, but their power had reached an extremely shocking level. The 49 strands of sword chi whistled up, slaughtering everything in their way, let alone the 6 void-shattering experts and several dozen sainthood experts. Even if there were twice as many of them, the 49 strands of sword chi would still be able to suppress them easily. "I see. You've cultivated such a sword cheese? I remember that not long ago, although the power of your sword chi was not bad, even if it was formed into a sword array, it could only threaten to shatter the vacuum. But now, even a divine true body expert would have to expend a lot of energy to defeat your sword chi. With this divine ability, you do indeed have the ability to barely fight against a divine true body expert. It's a pity that you met me. The tricks I have hidden are not as simple as an ordinary divine true body expert." Gu Qijin, who was hiding nearly 100 kilometers away, looked like he had seen through the truth. His face was full of smiles. Now that he knew where his opponent's trump card was, he did not waste any more time. He silently moved toward the battlefield where Tsing Hui and the divine true body level experts of the White Demon Association were fighting. Chapter 780. Haha, Dong Yang, you didn't expect this, did you? Die. Gu Qijin, who had taken the opportunity to sneak onto Tsing Hui's battlefield, leaped up and summoned the ancient god world. He was about to envelop Tsing Hui and the people from the White Demon Association. However, the moment he summoned the ancient god world, a gentle chuckle rang out from Ching Su. "And here I was wondering how long you were going to hide. I never thought you wouldn't even have the patience. Since you've come, I won't play with you any longer. Mr. Yu Qing, please show yourself." As soon as he finished speaking, a spatial ripple spread out. It seemed like a personal space had opened. Then, a figure stepped out of the spatial ripple. This figure was Yu Qing, which Tsing Hui had transformed into. This so-called Yu Qing was just a doppelganger created by Tsing Hui's one chi into 3 clears immortal technique. Although it was just a clone, it possessed all sorts of mysteries. Under the concealment of the shadowless stance celestial technique, his entire being seemed to be filled with an undetectable, untouchable, and unfathomable aura. Moreover, as he appeared, he only glanced at Gu Qijin indifferently and said indifferently, "A small fry like him isn't worthy of me personally taking action. Let one of my pets play with him." As soon as he finished speaking, the spatial ripple appeared again. As the ripple spread out, a huge shadow was cast down. Under the stunned gazes of the people from the White Demon Association and Gu Qijin, a divine beast, Kunpeng, whose aura was at the 5th level of the Saint Realm, unparalleled realm, appeared. This Kunpeng was 500 to 600 meters long. If it spread its wings, it would be more than 1,000 meters long. Its huge body carried a suffocating pressure as it arrived with a loud bang. The murderous aura that shook the void seemed to turn into a pillar of air that shot into the clouds. Not to mention the White Demon Association, Gu Qijin, and the others who bore the brunt of it, their hands and feet turning cold. Even the cultivators who were more than 1,000 kilometers away turned their heads in shock after sensing this aura. They were filled with fear. Kunpeng, Kunpeng, Divine Beast Kunpeng. Divine Beast Kunpeng of level 17 unparalleled realm. Oh my god, the target has such a terrifying expert protecting him. Run, run, run. The surviving cultivators of the White Fiend Association all screamed in terror and tried to leave the battlefield as fast as they could. However, this divine beast, the rock, that was filled with a ferocious aura, obviously wouldn't let them off so easily. Along with a long howl, the thousands of wings on his body seemed to have transformed into numerous peerless divine swords that tore through space, and they carried the traces of the laws that tore through space. In an instant, they pierced through and annihilated all the Saint Realm experts of the White Soul Association. Starting from the void-shattering realm of the divine realm, the gap between them would constantly widen. Although it had not reached the level of the gap between the golden elixir realm and the divine realm, it was not far off. Under normal circumstances, 40 to 50 void-shattering realm experts would have to fight against a divine true body expert if they swarmed together. It was the same for the gap between the unconquerable realm and the divine true body expert. The Kuanpeng that Xing Hui had transformed into not only had the power of the unconquerable realm, but was also a divine beast. The gap between the unconquerable realm and the divine true body expert was 2,000 to 3,000 times greater. It was not an exaggeration to say that it was unstoppable. Ah, it's a misunderstanding, a misunderstanding. Your Excellency Dongyang, you've misunderstood. Gu Qijin saw the terrifying power of the Kuanpeng divine beast. What was even more terrifying was that there was a terrifying expert who could control the Kuanpeng. He was so scared that his soul almost left his body. He turned around and ran. Buzz, buzz. But before Gu Qijin could escape, the Kuanpeng divine beast had already spread its wings and let out an ear-piercing screech. As it screeched, circles of ripples spread out with it as the center. The sound waves collided with the space and instantly froze everything within a radius of dozens of kilometers. Even Gu Qijin, a divine true body expert, felt as if he had fallen into a quagmire and could barely move. Ancient divinity out. At this critical moment, Gu Qijin showed the courage of a hero and directly summoned the ancient divinity to envelop the Kuanpeng divine beast. He did not even look back. While he revealed his divine true body, the aura of the divine spell also surged as he frantically ran for his life. As for killing Xing Hui, with such a terrifying expert who could summon the Kuanpeng divine beast by Xing Hui's side, it was definitely courting death. Escape? Do you think you can escape? Yu Qing's expression was indifferent. The aura of the Kuanpeng divine beast suddenly surged. That surge of power was somewhat familiar to Gu Qijin, as if it was the divine spell. But how could a divine beast use the divine spell? It must be that Senior Yu Qing had blessed it with some secret skill similar to the divine spell. Under the blessing of this secret skill, the power of the space confinement on him surged, making it difficult for him to move. Blessings of the gods. Break. At this critical moment, Gu Qijin let out a low roar. It seemed that he had used some secret skill. His aura surged to the peak of the divine true body level and vaguely reached the level of the Xing Hui realm. As the gap between their cultivation levels narrowed, the Kuanpeng divine beast trapped in the ancient divinity could no longer stop him with the power of the space confinement. Seeing this, Xing Hui, whose true body had already transformed into the Kuanpeng divine beast, paled slightly. He had been unwilling to waste 100 Taoist rhymes to raise his chaos level to level 75, but he did so without hesitation. After raising his chaos level, he immediately used the freezing spell on Gu Qijin, who had the divine spell. Gu Qijin, who had been relying on the blessing of the gods and the divine spell to reach the level of the Xing Hui realm, rapidly lost a large portion of his strength. The panic he felt when he lost the power of the Son of Chaos filled him with fear. What's going on? What's going on? I can't sense the Chaos Temple. Do you have a fragment of the ancient divinity on you too? Gu Qijin's eyes were filled with shock and anger. A fragment of the ancient divinity? Xing Hui had heard from Tuoba Changkong that the fragment of the ancient divinity had the miraculous effect of interfering with others' ability to sense the Chaos Temple. However, although he was now trapped in the fragment of the ancient divinity, he could use the various divine powers of the Son of Chaos without any hindrance other than the fact that he had to expend some mental energy to sense the Chaos Temple. Perhaps this was the advantage of being a high-ranking son of Chaos. The ancient divinity is very sturdy. Fortunately, I used the backtrack spell before using the transforming spell to rewind the state of my body before it collapsed. Otherwise, I might not have been able to do anything to Gu Qi-jin in a few breaths' time. As Tsing Hui thought of this, the Kunpeng divine beast attacked the ancient divinity even more violently. After 3 breaths' time, the ancient divinity finally collapsed with a loud bang. Freed from the ancient divinity's restraints, the Kunpeng divine beast with a wingspan of 1,000 meters flew across the void and descended. Rumble, an attack that shook the void, came crashing down. Gu Qi-jin's 9-headed, snake-let real body tried to stop it, but in front of the mythical beast Kunpeng, which had a wingspan of 1,000 meters, he was like a little bug. He was torn apart by the mythical beast Kunpeng's terrifying claws, and 4 of his 8 heads were smashed into pieces. At the same time, the sword wings that had previously killed dozens of the White Fiend Association's divine beasts whizzed back and rained down on Gu Qi-jin's huge Jiuying divine beasts. In an instant, his Jiuying divine body was riddled with holes. Finally, with another attack from the Kunpeng divine beast, the huge Jiuying divine body collapsed and exploded. However, an expert who had cultivated a divine true body had the ability to be reborn from a single drop of blood. After Gu Qi-jin's divine true body had been destroyed, he had returned to his normal size. Other than being covered in wounds and blood, he had not died along with the destruction of his divine true body. You actually destroyed my divine true body. Not only did I destroy your divine true body, but I also wanted to take your life. No. I still have a limitless future. I can't die. You can't kill me. If you kill me, the Gu family will never let you go. Gu Qi-jin was terrified as he screamed in a trembling voice. The Gu family's patriarch is just an ordinary reigning realm cultivator. Do you think I'm afraid of him? Yu Qing's clone said calmly. That one sentence left Gu Qi-jin speechless. This Mr. Yu Qing before him was a terrifying existence that could control a reigning divine beast. There was no need to guess how terrifying his own strength was. At the very least, with Gu Qi-jin's experience, he was unable to see through the slightest bit of this person's aura. In your next life, open your eyes wider. There are many people in this world that you can't afford to offend. Yu Qing's expression was indifferent. Suddenly, the Kunpeng divine beast's huge body swooped down again. No, don't kill me. When I obtained the ancient God World fragment, I also obtained a lot of resources. These resources are enough for me to cultivate to the reigning realm. I'm willing to give them all to Senior. Where are your resources? They're in my personal space. Yu Qing's clone's face darkened when he heard that. The Kunpeng divine beast that Tsing Hui had transformed into didn't hesitate to tear Gu Qi-jin's head off on the spot. After killing Gu Qi-jin, Tsing Hui turned into a human in an extremely short amount of time. A blossoming instant immortal art landed on Gu Qi-jin's body. Before long, he had turned into a fruit of Tao that shone with flowing light. The resources were in his personal space. One had to know that Gu Qi-jin's chaos level might not even be at level 20. How long would a son of chaos below level 20 be sealed by his freeze spell at level 75? Thousands of years? Tens of thousands of years? At the very least, by that time, the so-called resources that could cultivate to the reigning realm would be useless to him. This was also why his face darkened, and he killed Gu Qi-jin without hesitation. A Tao fruit. That's quite an unexpected gain. I've already pushed the blooming flower to the consummate level. The consummate level of the blooming flower has the miraculous effect of increasing one's cultivation base and extending one's lifespan. I wonder what kind of miraculous effects the Tao fruit that the consummate level of the blooming flower bears? When he thought of that, Tsing Hui didn't recall his Yu Qing clone or the Tai Qing clone he'd used as bait. Instead, He took out a level 15 flying artifact he'd bought from the Crimson Jade Merchant Guild and had Yuqing pilot it towards Heavy Light City. As for himself, he entered the flying artifact and began to refine the fruit of Tao that had been condensed from the essence, qi, and spirit of a divine true body expert. Chapter 781. Since the Tao fruit contained a tenth of Tsing Hui's essence, energy, and spirit, he was quite efficient in refining it. In less than 2 days, he'd completely refined the Tao fruit. Unfortunately, due to his cultivation system, not much of the Tao fruit's energy could remain in his body. Most of it was channeled into the Scarlet Abyss sword to increase its transformation speed. He hoped that the Scarlet Abyss sword could transform into a 17th level divine weapon as soon as possible. Although it didn't increase his cultivation by much, Tsing still felt a slight change in himself after completely refining the Tao fruit. Moreover, this change seemed to originate from his spirit. When he thought of this, Tsing Hui's gaze immediately fell on the Son of Chaos Interface's spiritual level, 161st level. His spiritual level, which had risen from the 7-star sword spirit's potential to the 160th level, had risen by 1 level to the 161st level. Even though the green ruins had tempered the mind a lot during this period of time, he believed that he was clearly still a little away from reaching the 161st step. Thanks to a fruit of ways condensed from the instant the flower bloomed, he forcefully broke through the shackles of his mind and increased it by a level. In other words, the Tao fruit born from the blooming flower at the perfected realm was so special that it could strengthen a cultivator's spirit. Tsing Hui carefully estimated that even without his previous foundation, 1.5 to 2 divine true body level Tao fruits would still be able to raise his spiritual level by 1 level. Tsing Hui's breathing paused when he thought of this. The further one progressed, the more difficult it was for a cultivator to raise their spiritual level. If his guess was correct, this supreme immortal technique, Blossoming Instant, would become the most useful and terrifying immortal technique among all his immortal techniques. It's really an extremely evil immortal technique. However, compared to a virtual shattering realm cultivator, a divine true body expert's energy storage is much higher. Even a virtual shattering realm cultivator would only be more in tune with the laws of nature. In terms of energy, they might not be much stronger than a divine true body expert. Therefore, the divine true body level is the most effective for the blooming flower. It's not worth the loss to deal with a virtual shattering realm cultivator, and the benefits of refining a virtual shattering realm Tao fruit are too small. Tsing Hui fell silent for a while. If he wanted to seriously injure or capture a divine true body expert, he could only transform into the Koan Peng. If someone discovered the secret of his transformation technique, even realm with a thought, they wouldn't be able to turn a blind eye to it. A son of Chaos Realm. It was unknown whether the Chaos Realm giant in the True Sun Great World had exceeded the 45th level. Hunting down a divine true body expert is definitely not an easy task. Moreover, with my current abilities, hunting down a divine true body expert is far too dangerous. Every divine true body expert has lived for at least several thousand years, and the resources and social circles they have far exceed my imagination. If I really want to rely on the blossoming flower to increase my cultivation, I need to find a carefree backer. Tsing Hui pondered. He had to ask the experienced and knowledgeable Tuoba Chongkong about this. However, for now, he would first go to the Yuan Chong Chamber of Commerce to take a look. Thinking of this, Tsing Hui put away his flying instrument, but he didn't keep Yu Qing's incarnation. Instead, he and his incarnation flew toward Heavy Light City at full speed. As he had stayed on the flying instrument for 2 days, he wasn't far from Heavy Light City. At full speed, Heavy Light City was already in sight in less than 2 hours. After arriving at Heavy Light City, Tsing Hui went straight to the Yuan Chong Chamber of Commerce. As the top chamber of commerce in the Zhongshuan continent, the Yuan Chong Chamber of Commerce had an extremely powerful intelligence network. Although they didn't know much about Tsing Hui's incarnation, Yu Qing, purchasing a large amount of goods in the Scarlet Jade Chamber of Commerce, they knew that he was a wealthy customer. Therefore, when Tsing Hui and Yu Qing's incarnation arrived at the Yuan Chong Chamber of Commerce, Gewu, the vice president of the Yuan Chong Chamber of Commerce, personally came out to greet them and warmly welcomed them to the VIP lounge. Mr. Yu Qing, we're honored by your presence. It's the honor of our Yuan Chong Chamber of Commerce. As one of the top chambers of commerce in the Sichuan continent, our foundation is definitely not inferior to any chamber of commerce in the Sichuan continent. The things inside will certainly satisfy you. Oh, satisfy me? Do you have the crystal wood core in the Yuan Chong Chamber of Commerce? Do you have the mysterious desolation chi? Tsing Hui's Yu Qing incarnation said indifferently. Although the aura on his body wasn't strong, under the cover of the shadowless immortal art, President Gewu didn't dare to underestimate him in the slightest. We don't have the crystal wood core or the mysterious desolation chi, but I believe this item will certainly satisfy Mr. Yu Qing. Gewu took out a crystal stone as he spoke. As he injected his power into the crystal stone, a three-dimensional image was suddenly projected from the crystal stone. What appeared in the three-dimensional image was a light blue spring exuding a clear and pure aura. Even if it was only a three-dimensional image, Tsing Hui seemed to be able to sense the incredible life force in the clear spring. This is Tsing Hui's heart stirred. He immediately thought of a treasure that Tuoba Changkong had mentioned that had a miraculous effect on the growth of wood spirits. He couldn't help blurting out, "Is this the spring of life? You must be Bishop Danyang? You're really knowledgeable." "Yes, this is the spring of life." Gewu had a faint smile on his face. "If Bishop Danyang and Mr. Yu Qing want to cultivate wood spirits, I think there's nothing more suitable than a crystal of life. It's the spring of life." Tsing Hui's pupils contracted slightly. He didn't find it strange that Gewu and the others were able to find out that they were collecting resources to nurture wood spirits. Whether it was the crystal wood heart or the azure wood essence, they were all treasures used to nurture wood spirits. Ordinary people would buy these things to nurture wood spirits. If the efficiency of cultivating wood spirits with spirit marrow was 10, the crystal wood core was 20, and the azure wood spiritual liquid was 30, then the spring of life's efficiency could definitely reach 40. However, compared to the crystal wood core and the azure wood spiritual liquid, which were only useful for cultivating wood spirits, the spring of life could not only cultivate wood spirits on a large scale, but also had inestimable benefits for healing injuries. Moreover, drinking it all year round could wash away the impurities in one's body, making it easier for one to break through the limits of life essence and evolve to a higher level. Because of this, the price of the spring of life was very high. It would be a waste to simply buy it to cultivate wood spirits. Moreover, the power of the spring of life itself originated from a legendary divine tree, the Tree of Life. There were 12 divine beasts in the world, so 12 types of great Tao were passed down. Every cultivator in the cultivation world could find the shadows of the 12 divine beasts. Moreover, the ultimate goal of their cultivation was to cultivate the laws represented by the 12 divine beasts and obtain their approval. However, in addition to the 12 types of great Tao that represented the 12 divine beasts, there were 6 types of great Tao that reflected the great Tao of heaven and earth. The legendary divine tree, the Tree of Life, was one of the great Tao of heaven and earth that represented the great Tao of life. This kind of great Tao of heaven and earth had almost been completely lost in the world. Its rarity was almost comparable to that of the great nether glow of the 12 divine beasts. Without the Tree of Life, although the spring of life was still very valuable, it couldn't continuously produce spring water. In other words, when Tsing Hui ran out of the spring of life one day, it would be equivalent to losing its original mystery. Buying the spring of life as a great Tao of heaven and earth would be equivalent to wasting it. However, as long as he could cultivate enough wood spirits to let the dragonization fruit tree mature as soon as possible. So what if he wasted a spring of life? Thinking of this, Tsing Hui directly asked, "What's the price of the spring of life?" Seeing Tsing Hui ask for the price, Guwu's face showed a trace of joy. He hurriedly said, "The price of the spring of life is immeasurable, especially the spring of life. It has the miraculous effect of reviving flesh and bones. The price of 200 Taoist rhymes is definitely not high." Before Guwu could finish speaking, Tsing Hui waved his hand and interrupted, 120 Taoist rhymes. "This is my price." 120 Taoist rhymes? Guwu couldn't help but be slightly stunned when he heard Tsing Hui's price. Then he smiled bitterly and said, "Mr. Yuqing, 120 Taoist rhymes is too low a price. The spring of life is a legendary treasure. How can you? This is my price. If it's okay, then it's okay. If it's not okay, then it's okay. In any case, I've already accumulated a lot of things needed for the growth of wood spirits. In the short term, I don't need these things too urgently. If you really want to sell your spring of life at a high price, then keep it and wait for the next buyer." After Yuqing finished speaking, he didn't seem to want to be entangled with the spring of life anymore. He directly said, "All right, do you have anything else? Let me see it all at once. I only hope that the treasures in your Yuan Chong Chamber of Commerce aren't much worse than the Scarlet Jade Chamber of Commerce." "This, Mr. Yuqing, please wait a moment. Let's discuss the price of the spring of life again. I've already quoted the price of the spring of life. I'm a straightforward person. If it's okay, then it's okay. If it's not okay, then it's okay. I don't want to haggle over these Taoist treasures." Guwu saw that Yuqing seemed to have an indifferent attitude towards the spring of life. In addition, he knew that the spring of life was somewhat useless. If he missed out on such a big customer like Yuqing this time, he didn't know how long he would have to wait before he could sell the spring of life again. He immediately gritted his teeth and said, "All right, as Mr. Yuqing said, 120 Taoist rhymes it is." "All right," Yuqing nodded. "Let me see if you have any other good things. If there is, we can complete the transaction in one go. It'll save me the trouble of making another trip." Yes. Mr. Yuqing, please take a look," Guwu said, and quickly took out all the treasures in their Chamber of Commerce. Unfortunately, among the remaining treasures, the only one that could be considered expensive was an 18th level divine weapon. However, this divine weapon was an offensive divine weapon, and it was a long spear. Tsing Hui, who had the Scarlet Abyss sword, couldn't use it at all. In the end, he could only regretfully miss out on this 18th level divine weapon. In the end, he only managed to buy this spring of life in the Yuan Chong Chamber of Commerce. The tree of life is about to appear. It was mentioned a long time ago. Chapter 782. After purchasing the spring of life, Tsing Hui transferred it to his personal storage before bidding farewell and returning to Cloud Mountain Grotto Heaven. As for the remaining top-notch merchant guild, he had already asked Tuoba Changkong to inquire about it. Since there was nothing he was satisfied with, he didn't want to waste his time and make a wasted trip. President. When Tsing Hui left the Origin Weight Merchant Guild, an old man in the reigning realm immediately came to his side, his eyes gleaming. These two guests are very wealthy. According to estimates, their total expenditure during this period has reached an astonishing 600 Taoist rhymes. Look at us. At this point, he made a beheading gesture with his right hand. Even if the man in the lead is suspected to be in the reigning realm, our Origin Weight Merchant Guild might be able to swallow him. A Taoist rhyme item with over 600 Taoist rhymes. Guwu was also shocked by this number, which was so huge that it made people tremble. However, take a look at this piece of information we've just obtained. Guwu handed a jade talisman to the old man. Information? The old man took the jade talisman and carefully examined the information within. Before long, his eyes widened. That Yuqing can actually control the reigning divine beast, the Koin Peng. That's right. Guwu nodded. Even if we don't count Yuqing's combat strength, a reigning divine beast, the Koin Peng, can almost withstand the combined forces of nearly 10 reigning realm experts. In particular, the Koin Peng is proficient in spatial techniques. If it wants to escape, Who can stop it unless a top-notch realm with thought expert personally takes action? Not to mention, Yu Qing was able to tame the Koan Peng. Who can guarantee that he's really only in the reigning realm? President Gowu's words made the old man's heart sink slightly. Elder Huang, can you see Mr. Yu Qing's true cultivation? No, I can't see through it. The old man answered truthfully. We can't see any traces of his cultivation base at all. There are only two possibilities. One, he's cultivated a pinnacle concealment technique, and this secret technique is far more exquisite than we can imagine. The other possibility is Dao integration. Dao integration. The old man's eyes suddenly burst with disbelief. Dao integration? How could this be? First level primal chaos realm, communicating with the great Dao and becoming one with the Dao. That Mr. Yu Qing is a Dao integration supreme. This possibility is very low, but it's not impossible. Could he be a top-notch expert who can create a world with a single thought? For example, half-step Dao integration stage? Elder Huang, as a reigning realm expert, you should know better than me that there is no such thing as half-step Dao integration. When President Gowu said this, there was a trace of yearning, a trace of fear, and a trace of regret on his face. Creating a world with a single thought is the most powerful realm, but it is also the weakest realm. After all, the cost of maintaining the normal operation of one small world is too great. It is so great that many powerful people who have broken through to the realm of creating a world with a single thought will think of ways to sell their own divine weapons to keep their world from falling. Furthermore, although the invincible existences of this realm have terrifying strength that can almost crush the unrivaled realm, most of them have chosen to live in seclusion due to exhaustion. If you want to completely stabilize your world, there is only one way: unification of the Tao. Only by unification of the Tao and ascending to the primal chaos realm and obtaining the support of the great Tao will you be able to make your world impregnable and completely escape the fate of being dragged down by your world and unable to continue. The old man was silent. The realm of creating a world with a single thought was actually somewhat similar to the prominent divine realm of the 6 realms of the longevity realm. However, the difference between creating a world with a single thought and the reigning realm was much greater than the difference between the prominent divine realm and the green netherworld realm. However, the prominent divine realm of the 6 realms of the longevity realm did not manifest the battle physique, so there was no need to worry about the collapse of the sacred body. As for creating a world with a single thought, once the small world was completed, if a normal operation of the world could not be maintained, the world would collapse. What awaited the person who created a world with a single thought was the collapse of their own essence, energy, and spirit. Because of this, creating a world with a single thought was equivalent to the most powerful realm in the divine realm, but it was also like the weakest realm. This was also the reason why creating a world with a single thought was still planned among the 6 realms of the divine realm, even though there was a qualitative change in strength. Many reigning realm experts often possess the foundation to break through to creating a world with a single thought, but because of the terrifying consumption of creating a world with a single thought, they hesitated at this threshold and did not dare to step into it. In fact, other than this point, according to what we know, that Mr. Yu Qing most likely possesses a 10th order personal space. A 10th order personal space is at least a 25th order primal chaos realm. If my guess is not wrong, he is most likely walking the path of an undying body. This kind of person is very difficult to kill. A peak expert who is very difficult to kill, but who can control the divine beast Kuan Peng, who knows how tyrannical his foundation is. Once he relies on his profound foundation and undying body to fight against a reigning realm expert. When Gowu said this, he did not continue. Die of exhaustion. That peak expert who created a world with a single thought had an extremely small probability of dying of exhaustion. This was not a fantasy. Against a reigning realm expert, creating a world with a single thought did indeed have the advantage of being able to kill in an instant. However, once that reigning realm expert used too much world power, the efficiency of collecting void crystals could not keep up with the consumption of the world. Gradually, the world would shrink until it could no longer maintain its form and collapse. In the history of True Sun Great World, this kind of thing had not happened many times, but in the past tens of thousands of years, there were still several cases. Therefore, when dealing with those reigning realm experts who had enormous forces and profound foundations, even if a peak expert who created a world with a single thought had an overwhelming advantage, they still had to carefully consider it. This was also the reason why many forces with reigning realm experts could safely survive in the world. Xinghui naturally did not know that the exposure of his wealth had attracted the attention of the Yuan Cheng Chamber of Commerce. However, because he had used Yu Qing as a trump card to hide the truth, they had been forced to give up. However, even if he knew, he would not be too afraid. In any case, he always had a unique advantage in terms of escaping. Unless a peak expert who created a world with a single thought took him into their world, his safety was fully guaranteed. Even if he was taken into the world of a reigning realm expert, it would not be a problem. The first-order teleportation technique could only teleport within a single world, but under the enhancement of the primal chaos art, the teleportation technique could be upgraded to the third order, greatly increasing its teleportation ability. Even a small world of a reigning realm expert might not be able to trap him. Almost all the resources useful to me on the Zhongshuan continent have been plundered. If I want to buy more good things, I can only go to the Qiang Empire, the Flaming River Empire, or the True Martial Empire. However, these continents are different from the Zhongshuan continent. Almost all the resources of the divine true body realm and above are related to the imperial family. If I'm not careful, I will be targeted by the imperial family. When that happens, a lot of trouble will inevitably follow. Although Xinghui had a way to protect himself, he would be in a difficult situation if he was chased and forced to hide. Therefore, it would not be too late to consider the matter of plundering the resources of the Qiang Empire, the Flaming River Empire, and the True Martial Empire until he had the strength of a reigning realm expert. I'll go into closed-door cultivation and take advantage of the fact that my physique has been upgraded to the 14th order to study the sword formation formed by the Great Expansion Sword Qi. This way, if I face a divine true body expert again, I may not even need to manifest my Kuan Peng body to kill them. Xinghui was about to begin his closed-door cultivation, but at this moment, he seemed to have sensed something. His figure flashed and appeared in the personal space of the Primal Chaos Divine Palace. A figure was rarely seen in the personal space. It was Bai Shuaing, sword master Bai Heng, who he had parted with not long ago. Seeing Bai Shuaing, Xinghui smiled and was about to say something, but he soon noticed that Bai Shuaing's mood was a little abnormal. He could not help but ask, "What's the matter?" Bai Shuaing glanced at Xinghui and was a little depressed, but she quickly adjusted herself. 3 days ago, the Sword Technique Conference of the Void Sword Pavilion just ended. With my unraveling Void Stage cultivation base, I ranked in the top 10 of the Sword Technique Conference where most of the disciples were shattering the vacuum stage. Ranked in the top 10 of the Sword Technique Conference where most of the disciples were shattering the vacuum stage. Xinghui could imagine the weight of this ranking. He immediately said, "Congratulations, I knew that with your talent, what limits you is not your cultivation base, but the size of the stage. As long as you are given a vast stage, one day, you will be able to soar into the sky." Bai Shuaing nodded and was silent for a moment. Then she slowly said, "Due to my extraordinary performance in the Sword Technique Conference, the higher-ups of the Sword Pavilion have decided to send me to the Void Major World where the headquarters of the Void Sword Pavilion is located through the Star Path. The Void Major World." Xinghui had already learned from ordinary intelligence channels that the force behind the Void Sword Pavilion was very shocking. But he did not expect that there was a major world behind them. Moreover, they could open the Star Path when the True Sun Major World was half closed. And once Bai Shuaing went to the Void Major World, she would not be able to return to the Divine Wilderness World or even the True Sun Major World for a long time. Suddenly, Sing Hui seemed to have thought of something and also fell silent. After a while, he asked, "This is a good thing. Then, do you agree?" Bai Shuai glanced at Sing Hui. This glance lasted for a breath. After that, she nodded slightly. "I agree." As Bai Shuai gave an accurate answer, Sing Hui felt as if a piece of his heart was faintly empty. However, he could not help but want to laugh at this inexplicable change in his emotions. After all, although he had a good relationship with Bai Shuai, it was still too early to say that he was reluctant to part with her. More importantly, before he found senior sister Jiang Ningji, he did not dare to have any other thoughts in his heart. The change in his emotions could be described as complicated, but in fact, it only lasted for a moment. Sing Hui seemed to be startled, but he quickly reacted and replied with a smile, "Congratulations." "Thank you." Bai Shuai nodded slightly in response. When will the so-called star path open? An extremely outstanding genius appeared in this sword technique conference. His name is Sword Sovereign Hunyuan, and he has perfectly merged the sword Dao with his bloodline. He has attracted the attention of the higher-ups, so the star path will open in 3 days. 3 days? I'm afraid I won't be able to send you off then. Yes. Bai Shuai nodded in response. For a moment, the atmosphere suddenly froze. The two of them did not know what to say. After a while, Bai Shuai, who had a more open personality, spoke first. "I'm afraid I'll need some time. If Sing Hui returns to the divine wilderness, I'll have to trouble you to look after the Rainbow Sword Sect." "Of course." Sing Hui smiled and said, "Don't forget, I'm the 4th Sword Master of the Rainbow Sword Sect. Not to mention, the Rainbow Sword Sect is now a part of the Origin Sword Sect." "Okay, then I'll be leaving. I won't send you off then. I hope one day I'll hear the name of Sword Master Bai Heng, or even Supreme Bai Heng, in the endless starry sky." Sing Hui said, "Thank you." Bai Shuai nodded reservedly. In the end, she suddenly said, "I also hope you can find the person who made you make a promise as soon as possible." Promise. These 2 words immediately caused Sing Hui's expression to freeze slightly. "She's very lucky." Bai Shuai smiled faintly. One could faintly see 2 sweet little dimples on her face. "Goodbye." With that, Bai Shuai's figure faded, leaving only a wisp of a clear shadow in Sing Hui's eyes. It seemed to linger for a long time. If it wasn't for the lack of opportunity, Sing Hui even wanted to try the Supreme Immortal Technique, Spirit Wanderer Technique, to see if it could pass through the world barrier of a world creation expert. However, the Supreme Immortal Technique, Magic Arsenal, left Qing Su rather disappointed. It wasn't that it wasn't miraculous, but that the requirements were too high. The consummate level of Magic Arsenal could transform almost any level of heaven and earth spirit into a human form. However, if the cultivator's power was not strong enough, those spirit creatures might not be controlled by the cultivator. Even if such spirit creatures were transformed, they would be useless and would be wasted. Sing Hui estimated that with his current strength, he could only command a few divine, true body-level spirit creatures. However, spirit creatures were weaker than human cultivators. Unless he could transform a large number of divine, true body-level spirit creatures, this supreme immortal technique would be of little use. Shaking his head, Sing Hui's attention shifted to his personal space. In 2 years, the number of wood spirits in his personal space had increased to 68. The number was much higher than he had imagined. Under the care of these 58 wood spirits, the dragonization fruit tree was growing extremely well. Moreover, there were 36 dragonization fruits hanging on its branches. However, these dragonization fruits were not ripe yet. Sing Hui estimated that they would ripen in a few months if they were fast and half a year if they were slow. When the time came, he would refine all 36 dragonization fruits. Although his life essence would not be raised to the level of a divine beast, his physical strength would be stimulated and tempered, and he would definitely be able to make another breakthrough. Just as Tsing Hui was sizing up the dragonization fruit tree, a small sapling less than a meter tall appeared in his field of vision in his personal space. Due to Tsing Hui's orders, the 68 wood spirits were all surrounding the dragonization fruit tree. However, the wood spirit queen, who was in charge of nurturing the wood spirits, was circling around the small sapling. She was constantly using her essence to nurture the small sapling, allowing it to grow healthily. What surprised and shocked Tsing Hui was that the small sapling exuded an extremely dense aura of life. Even though it was less than a meter tall, the ripples of life it exuded were still refreshing. Just taking a breath would make one feel as if they had been cleansed by a divine being. What kind of sapling is this? Tsing Hui examined it for a moment and could already tell that this sapling was not ordinary. According to the characteristics of this sapling, Tsing Hui pondered for a moment. Suddenly, a thought flashed through his mind. In the next moment, his figure flashed, and he appeared above the spring of life that should have dried up after 2 years. The sapling was right next to the spring of life. The spring of life was constantly absorbing the aura of life exuded by the sapling, transforming it in a spring of life water. As a result, not only did the spring of life not dry up after 2 years, it had even expanded considerably compared to 2 years ago. It can enhance the creation of the spring of life. Tsing Hui turned his gaze to the sapling in shock. There was a trace of disbelief in his heart. The tree of life? One of the 6 legendary treasures of heaven and earth, the tree of life? Since when did he have a tree of life in his personal space? As the owner of his personal space, why didn't he have any memory of it? Fortunately, Ching Su's mental strength had reached the 161st level now, so his memory was far better than before. Very soon, he remembered that he had once planted a mysterious seed in this region. However, apart from the tremendous presence of life and the mysteries of the seed, there did not seem to be any possibility for it to survive. As a result, he did not pay too much attention to it after planting the seed. Now it seemed that mysterious seed from the Green Lotus Sword Sex Dong clan was actually the seed of the legendary Tree of Life. Originally, there was no possibility that this Tree of Life could be grown by Tsing Hui. However, by chance, he had purchased a wood spirit queen. Coupled with the appearance of the Spring of Life, this two-pronged approach had brought this Tree of Life to life, and now it had taken root and sprouted. The Tree of Life, this is a plant of legend. Tsing Hui took a deep breath. The Tree of Life symbolized the great Tao of life and contained an infinite amount of life force. Any living being who had comprehended the great Tao of life could not be killed unless their spirit was directly erased. Even if their bones were ground to dust, there was no exception. This was a mysterious existence that surpassed the realm of rebirth from a single drop of blood. It's a pity that my personal space is only a personal space. It has yet to become a small world that has been refined into one with my body. If I could open up a small world with this Tree of Life in it, as long as my spirit is not destroyed, any cultivator below the chaotic realm will not be able to kill me. Even if dozens or even hundreds of top-tier powerhouses with a single thought were charged at me, they would not be able to do anything to me. Furthermore, with the replenishment of the Tree of Life's life force, I can continue to push my body to its limits to increase the strength of my body. In any case, as long as the Tree of Life exists, I will be immortal and indestructible. Tsing Hui's face was filled with surprise and joy. If not for the fact that the dragonization fruit tree was of greater help to him than the Tree of Life, he probably would have been impatient to have the wood spirits nurture the Tree of Life with all their might. The dragonization fruit tree will mature in a few months if it's fast, or half a year if it's slow. At that time, it'll be extremely easy for me to kill divine, true body cultivators. It won't be difficult for me to use the flower blooming moment immortal technique to continuously convert Tao fruits and increase my mental strength. Then, I have to find a place where I can kill divine, true body experts without attracting trouble. With this thought, Tsing Hui summoned the knowledgeable Taba Chongkong and asked his question. A place where Master can fight divine true body experts to your heart's content without attracting any trouble. Taba Kong could not help but be stunned when he heard Sing Hui's words. Master, you can fight divine true body experts? How could I not have improved in 2 years? Taba Kong's expression immediately turned blank. Only 2 years? Was 2 years really enough for a vacuum-shattering cultivator to reach the level of a divine true body expert? All right, you only need to solve my problem. Taba Kong immediately dismissed his thoughts and glanced at Ching Su, even though he still felt a sliver of reverence and disbelief. When he thought about the news he had heard about Gucci Jin's fate 2 years ago, he still said, if Master really wants to find a place where you can fight to your heart's content against experts of the divine true form without incurring any trouble, then that's without a doubt a war between nations. War of nations? Tell me in detail. When Master was traveling through the void, did you notice the many war fortresses outside the void of our true sun great world? Of course. Sing Hui nodded. Those war fortresses are, in fact, the defensive positions of the top forces to prevent external attacks. After all, it's much faster to fly from one continent to another through the spatial mezzanine compared to flying at full speed inside the world. Protecting the corresponding spatial mezzanine in one's territory is equivalent to protecting the defensive circle of one's country. Sing Hui listened and nodded understandingly. Those war fortresses were actually equivalent to the sky fortresses of the mortal kingdoms on Earth. Whoever could obtain victory on that battlefield would obtain the air supremacy of the battlefield. Among the Scarlet Sun Empire, the Flame River Empire, and the True Martial Empire, the True Martial Empire is the strongest, but there aren't many forces that exceed it. After all, the decisive battle strength is the 3 empires. Each of the 3 empires only has one chaotic sovereign. The only difference is the number of experts in the one thought to create a world, and the one thought to create a world, and the number of experts in the one thought to create a world, and the one thought to create a world. Currently, the Scarlet Sun Empire and the Flame River Empire have secretly joined forces to keep the True Martial Empire in check. I wish all my readers new hope in the new year, new blankness, new dreams, and brushing away the dust of time. Let laughter, tears, love, and sorrow condense into a thick crystal amber in your heart. Let it be stored in your heart forever and turn into precipitation to welcome a better tomorrow. Happy New Year, everyone! Chapter 784. Kingdom War. Sing Hui's expression was a bit strange. Even divine, true body cultivators might not be able to protect themselves. Are you sure you wanted to go? Master, you think too highly of the Kingdom War. In reality, the primal chaos supremes of the 3 empires are keeping each other in check and will not act rashly. Furthermore, if a world realm expert with a single thought were to act rashly, it would put a burden on the maintenance of his own world. Unless his side is about to be completely defeated, a world realm expert with a single thought would be too lazy to make a move. The true main forces on the battlefield are the divine true body and the traversal realm experts. The traversal realm experts are usually the people in charge of the fortresses and will usually be dealt with by the traversal realm experts on their own side. The true main forces of the battlefield are the divine true body experts. Furthermore, Master has a special teleportation technique. Even if he is unable to escape from the traversal realm experts, he can still protect himself. At this point, Tuoba Zhangkong added, joining the Kingdom War is often rewarded with merit points. These merit points can be exchanged for some of the best items in the 3 empires. There is no lack of supreme treasures that can even be used by peak experts at the world creation realm. That is why I recommended this option to Master. If Master feels that the Kingdom War is too dangerous, you can hire cultivators to help defend the sect or attack the enemy. No need. Sing Hui said, if I didn't hear wrongly, the Kingdom War is divided into fortresses and fortresses. Yes, that's right. A defensive region usually has dozens of fortresses. World Ascension cultivators are in charge of the region, and 2 to 3 reigning body cultivators are in charge of each fortress. Those who fight are divine true body cultivators, vacuum-shattering body cultivators, and void-shattering body cultivators. Vacuum-shattering body cultivators are only ordinary warriors. Singhui couldn't help but be speechless. In reality, the true main force in a fortress war is divine true body cultivators. The standard configuration of a fortress is usually 1,000 void-shattering body cultivators, 100 divine true body cultivators, and 2 to 3 reigning body cultivators. Among them, void-shattering body cultivators and vacuum-shattering body cultivators rarely go out to fight. Their main task is to control the war machines in the fortress to destroy the enemy's fortress. The true main force is divine true body cultivators. Usually, the final victory of a local conflict will end with the enemy's fortress being severely damaged or completely destroyed. I understand. Singhui nodded. In other words, if I don't actively attack the battle fort, I won't be targeted by unrivaled experts? Well, that's true. However, if Master's performance is too conspicuous, he might still become the target of the reigning realm experts. Very good. Then, which force do you suggest I join? If Master is considering your safety, you will naturally choose the Scarlet Sun Empire and the Flaming River Empire. After all, these two empires still have a great advantage on the battlefield. However, if you want to exchange merit points for top-notch resources, you will choose the True Martial Kingdom. The True Martial Kingdom has a much stronger foundation than the Scarlet Sun Empire and the Flaming River Empire. Singhui thought about how he would have to borrow the Scarlet Sun Empire's path to return to the Divine Wilderness. If he was able to create enough waves in the Kingdom War and draw on a large amount of the Scarlet Sun Empire's energy, it might be easier for him to return to the Divine Wilderness when the time came. Is there anything I need to prepare for joining the Empire of True Martial Arts? Master, if you're only going to train yourself, there is no harm. However, if you want to have an official position in the Empire of True Martial, it is best to have a clean background. A clean background. Find me a suitable identity. Shattering Void Realm Cultivation is enough. Divine True Body Realm Cultivation is best. This, Tuoba Zhangkong revealed a difficult expression. This matter was clearly beyond his ability. This kind of disguise might be seen through at a critical moment. You don't need to worry about this. Just find a suitable identity. Leave the disguise to me, Singhui said and waved his hand. I will give you half a year to settle this matter. Tuoba Zhangkong had no choice but to agree. I will go investigate now. Go. Singhui waved his hand. Fetus transfiguration was a supreme, immortal technique. Not only could it easily change one's aura and characteristics, but it could also mold a person's mind and body. As long as he could find a suitable candidate, Singhui would only need 7 days to become exactly like that person. Even if that person's clan had a secret technique to identify their own members, they would not be able to detect anything unusual. Time passed slowly, and 5 months eventually passed. After a long wait in Qingsu, the 36 dragonification fruits on the dragonification tree finally ripened. For a moment, a refreshing fragrance immediately permeated the surroundings, filling the area of over 100 kilometers with the dragonification tree as the center. At this moment, the dragonization fruits he had cultivated were different from the ones he had obtained from the spatial maze. Every dragonization fruit was round and full, radiating a translucent red light. It was unknown how many times better they were than the dragonization fruits he had barely managed to produce. This day has finally come. Singhui took in a deep breath as he sighed emotionally. He had spent almost 3 years in this world, and now that the dragonization tree had finally ripened, it was time to harvest. Even though he had mentally prepared himself, he still could not help but sigh. Now, let me see to what extent these 36 dragonification fruits can temper and strengthen my body. After putting away the 36 dragonization fruits, Singhui took in a deep breath. Without any hesitation, he took out a dragonization fruit and swallowed it, beginning to refine it. 1, 2, 3, 4. As time passed, one dragonization fruit after another was refined by Tsing Hui, increasing the toughness of his body and altering the essence of his life from the inside out. Even though each dragonization fruit did not significantly increase the toughness of his body, there were so many of them. In a month's time, Qing Su had already refined all 36 dragonification fruits. As a result, his body had reached the 15th step in a single stroke. Even the very essence of his life had been significantly modified. Unfortunately, this sort of transformation was still a little short of giving him the essence of a divine beast. Saint beasts are still fine, but divine beasts are existences equivalent to the embodiment of laws. Any divine beast, even without any cultivation, will have the cultivation of the saint stage as soon as they reach adulthood. With just a little bit of cultivation, they will be able to continuously increase their cultivation, and it will not be difficult for them to reach class 18 divine beasts who can create a world with a thought. Even stepping into the chaotic realm is only a matter of opportunity for them. The body of such a powerful life form is indeed not something that 36 dragonization fruits can achieve. I've taken this matter for granted. Tsing Hui muttered to himself. Although the essence of his life had yet to break through to the level of a divine beast, the green ruins could sense that the essence of his life had increased by a huge margin compared to before. At the very least, he could sense the omnipresent power of the world even more clearly now. It was as if his innate talent had been remolded, and he was gradually becoming the favored child of heaven and earth. No wonder the dragonization fruit is so precious. Being able to allow a cultivator to step into the divine true body realm is one of the factors. Another factor is to increase a cultivator's innate talent and potential. I really don't know how sharp my understanding of the great path will be when I possess the life essence of a divine beast as a human. Tsing Hui could not help but feel somewhat expectant. After refining these dragonization fruits, Tsing Hui once again refined his 49 Great Expansion Sword Qi before ending his seclusion. The 49 Great Expansion Sword Qi condensed from the body of a Class 15 Divine Beast had already surpassed the previous one in terms of power. Previously, when Tsing Hui's body was only at Class 14, he was confident that he could use the 49 Great Expansion Sword Qi to fight against experts of the divine true body realm. Now that his body had broken through again, relying on the sword formation, he could even fight against experts of the transversal realm. If he added on the life aura of the Tree of Life, he might even be able to try and fight a transversal realm expert. As long as I don't encounter an expert of the transversal realm, I can rest easy. Tsing Hui once again glanced at the dragonization fruit tree that had been cultivated by the wood spirit and left his cultivation room. The moment he walked out of the cultivation room, facing the sunlight outside, Tsing Hui could not help but think of Swordmaster Bai Heng, who had been gone for more than 2 years. For a moment, the high-spirited spirit that had just been generated from his cultivation level breakthrough had slightly subsided. I hope you can have a broader stage in the Void Sword Pavilion. Tsing Hui was silent. The next moment, he had already shouted, "Where is Tuoba, Chongkong? Come and see me." When he came to his study, Tuoba Chongkong also quickly rushed in from outside. "Master, how is the matter I asked you to do?" "Master, over the years, I've asked around and found 6 candidates that meet your requirements. Please take a look." As Tuoba Chongkong spoke, he handed over a jade talisman with information recorded on it. Tsing Hui took the jade talisman and scanned it with his divine sense. Very quickly, the information about the 6 people recorded in the jade talisman entered his mind. After a moment of consideration, he came to a decision. It's this person from the Zichen family. Zichen Gang? The number 1 genius of the Zichen family who died 30 years ago? The Zichen family is a famous clan. They once had a single thought realm ancestor. Although 1,000 years ago, that ancestor was besieged by the Scarlet Sun Empire's 3 great single thought realm ancestors, causing his world to collapse. Even so, The Zichin family's foundations are unfathomably deep. Infiltrating their family will be no easy task. No matter. Gather all the information about Zichin Gang for me, as well as the people closest to him. I need to borrow a drop of their blood. Xinghui said plainly. That's not difficult. Tuoba Changkong frowned. When Tuoba Changkong said this, he still frowned. Rumor has it that Zichin Gang perished in the chaotic streams of space. The Zichin family has already confirmed this. If Master really wants to enter the Zichin family as Zichin Gang, you'll definitely be subjected to strict scrutiny. You don't need to worry about that. Just do your job, Xinghui said without any room for doubt. When Tuoba Changkong heard that, he could only reply helplessly, yes. Chapter 785. The Zichin Family, one of the true martial empire's top clans. 1,000 years ago, they'd been overseen by a peak-level expert with a single thought. 1,000 years ago, the Zichin family's ancestor had fallen on the battlefield, but thanks to the network of connections he'd built up over tens of thousands of years, as well as the Zichin family's terrifying foundation, they still held a pivotal position in the true martial empire. No one dared underestimate them. Xinghui had spent a month learning about Zichin Gang, then obtained a drop of blood from Zichin Gang's younger sister, Zichin Shi. Using the fetus transformation technique, he'd taken Zichin Gang's appearance. In 7 days, he'd grown from an infant to an exact copy of Zichin Gang. Even if someone cracked Xinghui's genetic code, they'd discover that Xinghui was Zichin Gang. No one would be able to tell the difference. Zichin Gang was the #1 genius of the Zichin family's younger generation. In less than 200 years, he'd cultivated to the shattering Void Realm. His cultivation speed was so fast that, even among the countless geniuses of the true Sun Great Realm, he could be considered outstanding. The Zichin family even saw him as their future hope and did their best to nurture him. Unfortunately, when Zichin Gang perished in the chaotic streams of space, their 100-plus years of anticipation turned to nothing. The entire Zichin family was immersed in grief for quite some time. This kind of family, this kind of identity, just happened to fit Xinghui's criteria for infiltration. After changing into Zichin Gong's appearance, he went straight to the Empire of True Prowess and had a conflict with a local sect in the Empire of True Prowess. He used his terrifying swordsmanship that was powerful enough to suppress a divine true body expert and killed the divine true body expert in one fell swoop, shocking the state. However, because of this, he caught the attention of the local powers. Then, through the Zichin family's intelligence channels, reports reached the Zichin family. In the following half a month, 3 groups of people secretly came into contact with him. Xinghui pretended to know nothing, but the Zichin family collected some information about him and verified it layer by layer. Today, half a month later, he was brought to the Zichin family by an old man who also had a divine true body. It was the mountain range that occupied thousands of kilometers in front of them. Young master, this is your clan's castle. Our Zichin clan is one of the most illustrious clans in the true martial empire. Even though our ancestor met with a calamity 1,000 years ago, our Zichin clan still possesses an incomparably deep foundation. We have 43 traversing realm elders alone, and over 1,000 elders and core disciples who have cultivated the divine true body. Our influence is so great that even the lower-ranked princes cannot compare to us, said Zichin clan's leader. The old man leading the way, Wen Fu, explained patiently. Xinghui had already inquired about the Zichin family's strength, but the information he heard was rather different from the actual information. At the very least, he only heard that there were 32 reigning realm experts, but the old man Wen Fu said there were as many as 43. Those 11 reigning realm experts were clearly hidden experts of the Zichin family. If 43 revanchist experts were willing to pay the price and form a battle formation, they could easily exhaust a top-tier expert who could create a world with a single thought to death. Master is waiting for you at the main peak. Young master, please follow me. As Wen Fu explained, he led Xinghui to a peak in the middle of the mountain range. Gang, My ganger, you're really back. You're really fine. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Not long after they set foot on the peak, a burst of joyous cheers rang out from the palaces on the peak. Then, a noblewoman led a group of several dozen people to welcome them. Some of these people were his close friends and family, while others were servants in the family. They were all the people closest to Zichen. One of the middle-aged men following behind them was the father of Zichen, Zichen Lai, whom Zichen had disguised as. He was a peak reigning realm expert who had cultivated for less than 4,000 years. He was also the current head of the Zichen clan and the pillar duke of the true martial empire. Young master, this is your mother, Madame Rome. This is your younger sister, Zichen Shi. This is your good friend and also your cousin, elder Zichen Shi's descendant, Zichen Feng. When Fu stood by Tsing Hui's side and introduced each and every one of these important people to him. At the same time, he turned to the crowd and said, "Everyone should know that young Master Zichen Gang went through a life-and-death ordeal and was heavily injured. His memories are a bit blurry, so please forgive him for any indiscretions." We understand. My poor ganger. Big brother. Thank the heavens, you're fine. That's wonderful. The people who came to welcome them were rather understanding. In truth, before Tsing Hui was welcomed to the Zichen clan, his identity had already been verified multiple times by the Zichen clan, including a secret bloodline technique that Zichen Lai had personally used. All of the evidence showed that the man in front of them was the genius disciple of the Zichen clan who had fallen into spatial turbulence 30 years ago and was suspected to have died in battle. Cousin Zichen Gang, you've profited from your misfortune. Not only did you coincidentally obtain an ancient cave, you've also cultivated a peerless sword technique. By relying on the might of your sword technique, you can fight against experts of the divine true body realm. After cultivating for 230 years, you can fight against experts of the divine true body realm. With this speed, you can rank in the top 3 of all the young elites of the true martial empire. Even the most outstanding princes of the imperial family can't compare to you. Zichen Feng chuckled as he looked at Zichen Gang. When Zichen Lai heard Zichen Feng's words, he revealed a faint smile. Although the Zichen family had over 1,000 divine true body experts, less than 100 of them belonged to the Zichen family. Most of them had been recruited by the Zichen family or were peak experts nurtured by the Zichen family. How could the loyalty of these divine true body experts compare to the members of the Zichen family who had the blood of the Zichen family flowing in their veins? It's good that you're fine. It's good that you're fine. Gang, although you're missing some of your memories, I believe that with the passage of time, you'll remember everything that you've forgotten, Zichen Lai said. Zichen Lai nodded. Tsing Hui looked at Zichen Lai in front of him, then bowed in a reserved manner. After that, he raised his own request. Since my memories were lost when the Void Fortress fell in the Void Battleground, I want to go to the Void Fortress to participate in the Kingdom War again and see if I can recover my lost memories. When Tsing Hui finished speaking, his mother, Madame Rome, paled in fright. She hurriedly shouted, You can't. Ganger, the Void Battleground is too dangerous. If you're not careful, you'll die. You absolutely can't go there again. Mother already lost you once. I really don't want to lose you a second time. I feel like we can try this method, Zichen Lai said. Zichen Lai said, the best way for someone who has lost their memories is to go to the place where they lost their memories. That way, they'll be able to regain their lost memories. Furthermore, 30 years ago, Ganger was only at the void-shattering realm, so it was naturally very dangerous for him to go to the Void Battleground. However, Ganger obtained an ancient inheritance and cultivated an ancient peerless sword technique. Although he's only at the void-shattering realm, his battle prowess is much stronger than a divine true body expert. He can even kill a divine true body expert. If we get 1 or 2 top defensive and life-saving treasures from the Doyen, then his safety in the Void Battleground will definitely be guaranteed. He won't be in as much danger as last time. That's right. Although I've lost my memories, my battle prowess has indeed increased by a lot. As long as I don't get targeted by a peak expert who can create a world with a single thought, then I won't be in any danger. Sing Hui said, Our Zichan family has an excellent relationship with the Dragon Sparrow King. I will arrange for Gang to stay in the Dragon Sparrow King's war zone, and have the fort lord of his fortress do his best to protect him. Madam, don't worry, Zichenlai said. When Madame Rong saw the resolute attitudes of the father and son, she felt helpless and could only agree in the end. In the following month, Sing Hui cooperated with Zi Chenlai to deal with some family matters. He also wanted Zi Chenlai to recover his lost memories through family matters. However, he didn't get anything out of it. No, it wasn't like he didn't get anything out of it. At the very least, he got a grade 17 defensive armor from the Council of Elders and a talisman that could summon the incarnation of a reigning realm expert. With these two treasures, Qing Su's safety when he moved about in the spatial battlefield had increased yet again. A month later, Zi Chenlai personally took Sing Hui to the Void battlefield. As they traveled through the Void, the two of them quickly arrived at a cluster of fortresses outside the true martial empire. This group of fortresses was made up of 14 fortresses, and each fortress had 3 to 4 revanchist experts. The 14 fortresses formed a huge net that covered an area of several 100,000 kilometers, making it so that there was no need to worry about long-range attacks from outside space. Zi Chenlai took Sing Hui directly to the Dragon Sparrow King, who was in charge of the 14 fortresses, and asked the Dragon Sparrow King to take care of Sing Hui. Since the Dragon Sparrow King was on good terms with the Zichan family's ancestor, he naturally agreed. If it wasn't for Sing Hui's strong request to fight enemies in order to awaken his memories, the Dragon Sparrow King might have arranged for him to stay in the core of the cluster of fortresses. Even so, there were still 4 reigning realm experts in the fortress that Sing Hui was arranged to stay in. Each of these 4 could be considered an outstanding expert in the reigning realm. If the 4 of them worked together, it wouldn't be difficult for them to fight against 8 or 10 ordinary reigning realm experts. It could be said to be the safest of the 14 fortresses. Fortunately, although the 4 reigning realm experts were ordered to take care of Sing Hui, it didn't mean that they wouldn't let Sing Hui step onto the battlefield. On the 10th day after arriving at the fortress, Sing Hui and 3 other divine true body experts went out to patrol. An opportunity to hunt down an enemy divine true body expert from the Scarlet Sun Empire appeared in front of him. I've started to pay all kinds of New Year's greetings, but the atmosphere this year isn't very lively. It's mainly because the country doesn't allow firecrackers. I was reported and fined 200. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.